welcome to another edition of our complete Khans of Tarkir set review. I'm Evan Irwin.
I'm Brad Nelson.
And we're here talking all about the Mardu cards, the red cards today, sort of the red-centered clan, the Mardu Horde. They're ready to bash.
They are ready to bash, and they've got some fearsome monsters.
And they've got an amazing mechanic that we'll talk about here in a minute. We've talked about raid already, but it's great. So we're going to start with active treason. We got a really angry kitty going on. He's pissed. He's treasonous.
And he's like the worst version of raid, right? You're like, I have no way to trigger raid. I'll just steal your guy in tech. I got it.
It's a way to get it done.
It's true, yeah.
I like that they're taking like the Rakshasa, of the Sidisi, of the Sultai, and they talk about the Sultai, and the flavor text is really cool. I mean, like, we've been over active treason multiple times. Active treason's a good card. It's good in the aggro deck. It's not like this card that you're going to play 3 or 4 of, but generally if you're an aggressive player, particularly if you have any way to sacrifice a creature, it's the best thing ever. If not, it can still take games out of nowhere. If your opponent has some ridiculously huge bomb, like, it's a good way to answer it if you got nothing else.
Yeah, it's a huge tempo boost for decks that don't have a lot of removal or ways to get through damage. So you've got them at a low enough life, and they think they're safe. And this is just the best removal spell when you're killing them, because you take their guy, it becomes yours for the turn, and you just kill them. Whee! And so active treason has gotten better as creatures have gotten better. So over the course of the years, this card's stock has just risen to the point where you see a lot of these like in sideboards and constructed, because you just take a Polukranos and kill them with it. You know?
Nice desecration demon. Thanks.
Yeah, and so, but for limited, we've seen these kind of cards get really good and win a lot of games in these aggressive decks.
Yeah, and this is just not a card you're going to take very highly in limited, but if you're Mardu or if you're super aggressive in Jeskai, like, it's a non-creature spell. It's a non-creature spell that triggers all your prowess, and you can get a creature that can block all your dudes, and you can swing in. Like, there's a lot of good value, but it's not something that's going to be better than a really good creature or a piece of removal. It's just not.
It has a subtle chance of being better in this format too, for the fact that like all the Asban decks or Obzon. Right before we even started filming, I had to like check it.
Oh, we're like Obzon.
All right. All the Obzon decks, to get value, you have to tap their guys. So sometimes their defenses aren't as high. They don't attack you much, and they're trying to build a big army.
Right.
And you can just steal one of those guys, be like, thanks for the first strike or lifelink.
Yeah, they'll outlast all their dudes except for like the one wall or the one death touch guy or whatever it is, and you're just like, yeah, whatever, thanks.
And some of the raids like give you +1/+1 counters on their own, so you can like steal the guy that gets flying, and then it gives your team flying, and you just attack them. There's some really interesting things that are going on with +1/+1 counters. So
it's a cool card. Arc Lightning is back.
It is back. It is back. Even though we've got Chandra last set, she doesn't have any.
Yeah, now this is the original. This is the OG, if you will.
We got the OG Arc Lightning.
That's correct. Bringing it gangsta. I mean, it's not Chandra's Firebrand, I think is what it's called now. That's kind of like the functional reprint, and now it's just back as Arc Lightning. I have no idea why they choose a reprint versus a new name. I don't get it. And we talked about the inspiration thing for a while, but I don't know. Is there a reason?
Well, I think for like core sets, the Planeswalkers are just like the cards, right?
They're just trying to get it all super thematic.
Yeah, about all the Planeswalkers. So, like, yeah, those are the storylines especially for people that just started playing Magic.
Sure.
So they see these Planeswalkers, they're like, these are cool, these are what the entire set's about, and that's the flavor of the set. Chandra's
well, that makes
Phoenix
sense, because there's no need to have Chandra's Firebrand in here, because Chandra's not here in this world or whatever, and that's cool. And that's fine with me. Like, and the reason we're all talking about this is because this is a great card. You're going to take it super early. It's amazing. It's easy first pick. It's great for obviously solving problems, killing your opponent, destroying creatures. It's
so good in this set, though. Like, it's better than most other sets for the fact that people are going to be playing morphs. You have prowess to trigger. You can get their first guy and their morph much easier than other formats.
It's true.
So this card is going to be even a higher take, even though, like, I mean, if you played any...
It's a higher take than first pick. It's 0th pick.
This is pretty much Cone of Flames, but for 3 mana instead of 5. At 5, you get another 3 damage, right? For this one, you just get the 2 and the 1, usually, but you can still kill a 3-drop with it.
Yeah, you can kill a 3-drop, which is fine, but if you get at least 2 for 1 or sometimes 3 for 1, if you get really lucky or they're playing a bunch of X1s, you're in good shape. But like, obviously a stellar limited card. It doesn't get any better than this. It could see Constructor play just like Chandra's Firebrand did.
Yeah, this will be a pretty good card.
Absolutely.
And it kills Rabblemaster and the Goblin token, so I can see him in the sideboard.
As it should. Inoc Tracker. We're getting Inoc again. He's 6 mana, 3/3 with first strike. The morph's good. It's a solid card.
Yeah, the fix from the one from Onslaught. Like, this is the fixed version of the Onslaught one.
The Batterhorn.
The Batterhorn, the 3/1 first strike.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this is another great morph that you're going to blow them out with first strike, but it costs 5 to flip over.
It's good quality creature. You know what I mean? Like, this is just a good dude.
Yes.
I mean, like, if you're playing red, he's obviously great to play. Teamer, it's awesome. Like, he doesn't get the trigger ferocious, which is kind of a thing, but it doesn't matter because he's just good old-fashioned 6 mana, 3/3 first strike, but you're not going to pay 6 mana for
No,
him.
you're just going to flip them, trade
flip
them.
him.
You're going to trade them early. This is not a morph that I would feel like I need to protect.
Right, one of
So-
those, like, I have to wait for 5 mana.
Yeah.
I can't let this die in turn 3 or whatever.
Yeah, so I'm totally fine with playing this as a morph, trading early. It's kind of a blowout against some morphs. If you know your opponent has like the 5/3 or some of the other morphs that can flip over with just 3 toughness, they can flip it over, and then you're like, flip mine over, and I have first strike.
Yeah, it wins a lot of those kind of battles, as it
Mm-hmm.
were, and so that makes it, pretty good. But all I'm saying, it's not like, this is your uber rare that's always going to win you the game, and you just can't ever, trade it without flipping it. Like, you can flip it.
Yeah, no, this is not your premium morph.
Yeah, it's a good card though. Arrow Storm, it's removal. As removal is, it will be very good.
Yeah, I mean, it
It hardly gets better than a Lava Axe that both goes to creatures and faces.
yes, I agree with that. It's probably one of the most pushed expensive red burn spells in a long time. Like, we have just been dealing with all these like 5 and 6 mana, like deal 13 to like some creature, it doesn't matter, some big amount of damage.
Sure.
But yeah, this is awesome. So
Yeah, I mean, again, and just sort of like Arc Lightning, you're going to have the same pick order. Like, you're going to pick it early. I mean, it is 5 mana. It's not something you're going to love to have, like, a ton of, but honestly, I would actually love to have a ton of this. I'm okay with this.
yeah, this is probably.
I say that, but, like, I still look at it and I'm like, you know what? Who doesn't want more of
I
this?
think this is your endgame Mardu card. Like, Lava Axe has been an aggressive card for core sets for a long time, and this is just a better version for this set where you can just be really aggressive. A lot of people are trying to morph and do cool things in the late game, and you just have an aggressive curve with prowess and raid cards, and this is just your I'll kill that and attack you, or I'll attack you to get the extra point of damage,
Right.
And just Lava Axe you. So
Yeah.
I'm really happy about this card. I think it's actual premium, not only removal, but a card that can win you the game really easily, especially in an aggressive deck. And this is what's going to keep these this is the card that punishes the 3-color decks. Like, you're just going to go 2-color aggressive, like red black. I'm hoping you can draft 2-color decks.
Right, probably red white or red black or what have you.
Yeah.
I mean, or maybe I can imagine a lot of like little splashes. There's always like just a little bit. Maybe it's an off color, or maybe it's a morph that like if you get the tap land, or if you get the tri land, or whatever it is, or if you get the banner out, you'll have just that last bit of mana to kind of use it. But ultimately, you're just like very streamlined red white or red black, just super aggro and go that way.
Yeah, and you punish those decks, and this is the card that's going to help you punish them.
Yeah, this card's awesome. Like, it wins games. This card's going to win you games. And not only does it just hit faces like Lava Axe, which is always kind of its problem, is that sometimes you would draw Lava Axe and you're like, man, if I could hit that creature, I'd be in so much better position right now. And this does both. Bloodfire Expert. You know what he's an expert in?
Being tiny.
Being, like, ripped elemental style. No, he's a freak. He's a freaking ripped, bruh.
He has no muscles. He's toned. He's very toned. There's no muscles though.
Well, I mean, there are. They're just not. Look. Okay, we're talking about a 3-mana 3/1. Okay, it's got prowess. It's pretty bad. Mainly because it's going to die to everything. Like, just snap everything all the time. And you might be able to trade up for it, which is kind of like the benefit of a card like this, is that you're able to trade just 3-drop with maybe a 4 or 5, or maybe a 6-drop even, particularly with prowess to kind of give it that extra little push. It's not that this prowess, if you trigger it, will then give you ferocious, which could be a thing. So it's not like this thing has 0 merit. It's just like it's not very good because it's just kind of inherently weak.
Yeah, it's the card that will always trade. And I'm not saying those cards are bad. Like, right when we start playing with like the crocodile that was a 5/1, everyone thought it was so bad. But it's just a generic. I just want this to do its own thing, and I don't want to care about it once it's in play. Like, I don't value it.
Right.
I'm not trying to like push a bunch of damage with it, but it does do a lot of damage. Like, if you just go a guy, and this is it, and then they play a guy, and you're like, kill that guy. This becomes a 4/2 and attack you for like 6. That's a lot of damage. So I do like how this card can just trade, or because it can get up to 4 power as a 3-drop, can just be super aggressive.
Yeah, it's not the best thing. It's just okay. This is one of those, like, the creatures you kind of pick up late in the draft. Like, maybe you're going to wheel this thing, or maybe get it 9th or 10th or whatever, and it's going to be fine. It'll fit in your curve and it'll do things, but it won't be like the creatures that are going to win you the game. It's just solid.
Yep.
I like it. Barrage of Boulders. Okay.
It's interesting. It's
I mean, you need when it triggers Falter, it's probably going to win you the game.
That's just it. I do like that this card is a falter that gives you a better benefit.
Yeah.
In the sense that you can maybe like pick up a guy or two. So like you might have a deck that just needs to get the damage through.
Right.
And I do like that this is not just falter. Like it stops all creatures, not just ones.
Oh, I know. I was about to say, like, and
Yeah.
it's not just falter. It's like super falter. It's like awesome falter. So like, there's just literally nothing they can do to stop your attack once this thing triggers. And if you've got a power of 4 that's giving you the ferocious bonus, well, then you're probably pretty close to winning the game anyway.
Yeah, and those effects really aren't that great in limited, so they're like pushing them. And this is one where you can just like ping their entire board for one, and that could be big. Like it's
What's going to be ironic is when you want to ping for one and you can't. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
You're like, I got this 4-power dude, and I don't want him because I want to like kill that and kill that that has 1 toughness, but I can't because it's ferocious.
See, I think what's going to be the most ironic is when you cast this after combat.
Now, my question is, if this is a kicker type mechanic where like it's going to deal 1 damage regardless, and then they can't block, it reads weird. It reads a little funny.
I actually don't know.
I'm hoping it's doing both. My feeling is it's going to do both, but you know it's weird.
No, I guess it would have to, right? Because
it does the thing and then
Icy Blast
bonus.
Icy Blast at the end says those creatures don't untap, right? Or does it say tap them and don't untap again?
I don't know. Sure, it's not.
We're just gonna go on.
You know what? It's a fine card. Burn away, burn away.
See, that's.
What? He's burning away.
This is the card that I'm talking about. Just a huge, expensive removal spell that just killed that. Yeah.
I mean, you know, this is basically like kill target like teamer monster that's just going to smash your face in.
No, this is the anti. I don't want you to delve. This is the card.
Well,
this
yeah,
is stop in the
that.
graveyard. That's the big thing.
It hurts Sultai, which is good,
Yeah.
and it kills teamer dudes, which is also good. So like, this is good removal. There's a reason it's uncommon. You know, like you want to run this quite a lot. It's
yeah. Oh
good
no.
old-fashioned removal.
You can just see it. Yeah. It not only beats up all the biggest green guys that Teamer has, but it also takes away the graveyard from Sultai. So this is the other Wedge's card to fight them, right? Like,
Yes.
They have big monsters and they have graveyards, and you get to take both away immediately.
Yeah, I mean, and like that number 6 right there, you know, it could have been 5, it could have been 7, but no, it's 6. You know, I like how, you know, and as we've been doing this for so long, like there's a very specific reason why that is 6. I'm not exactly sure what it might be, but it does kill Surok, the Teamer clan lord guy, and that's a thing.
I mean, he's not that good. He's okay. He's just marginally okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're not
Right.
pie bet. We're not. Don't even think you're getting a free pie bet there.
Oh, come on! I wanted a free pie bet. This card is very good. It's removable. Pick it early, pick it off, and won't see constructed play, but that's fine. Crater's Claws. Fireballs in Constructed. Now, this is amazing and limited. Just always play it, always. First pick it, it's amazing. It's fine. Constructed, is this playable?
It looks like it could be playable. It's probably the most pushed fireball.
I would say
in
it's
a
the
while.
most pushed fireball since Demon Fire.
I think I like Devil's Play more, just for the fact that you got a flashback, so you could like use it as 2 removal spells.
That was nice.
But fireballs just aren't.
Well, I
usually,
guess Demon Fire was in Constructed more than Devil's Play was.
that's true, and that's because it couldn't be countered.
Exactly, and that was important.
But fireballs have always just been meh because they're situational, and the creatures, like, for example, like, this is always going to want to go to the dome, and yes, once you have a 4-power card, it's only going to trade for the same converted mana cost as their creature. Like, I'm just thinking of what I want to kill. Like, I'm not going to kill Fleeceman Lion with this on curve. I'm not going to kill Plukernos on curve.
Right.
Like, I'm going to be staring at, like, a Nissa, and I'm like, all right, 4 to your face. There's a 4/4 stone play. Like, it's a very proactive card when you're killing them, but it's too slow to be a reactive card. So it's never really that good. I don't like that it doesn't play both sides, and it's never going to let you break serve.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because, you know, I think when, particularly as new players, when they see fireballs or fireball type effects, they're just like, oh, the card's amazing. You know what I mean? Like, why isn't this, like, automatically playable in a bunch of constructed decks? Like, I just pay a bunch of mana and kill my opponent.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's so obviously good, but it's strange. It was always strange to me how it was bad.
So this is how my brain works, and this is, like, as a spike, and this is, like, how I first read the card. I'm like, oh, so you're saying if I play Plukernos, I can just, like, pay red to kill a 2-drop if that's like for a tempo swing. And I'm like, I should probably just be playing like Magma Spray. Like, I should just be playing that.
Yeah, I could just be doing that. Or maybe Lightning Strike if I had to or something.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, you know, again, that's sort of the stuff you kind of go through. You know, it's sorcery speed. So yeah, I would love to see this in Constructed, but like the fact that Demon Fire couldn't be countered, also the fact that it lived in a world with remand, that was very important back then.
You lived in a
thing.
way different format, like where spells were really good.
I
Like,
know.
really good,
Really powerful.
but not just like revving a bunch. Like you would just play like card advantage that costs 3, and you'd like be doing all these weird like long game control decks, and so I could see a Demon Fire just killing people.
I know, Ravnica.
Momentary blank.
Oh my god, so good. But yeah, Crater's Claws is just not that card.
Nope.
And just probably won't ever be. Ashcloud Phoenix, now you like this card a lot, is that correct? This card is bonkers and limited, by the way. Play it.
It blows me away that this is like $3 on websites. $3.
$3.
It makes no sense to me.
Trace bucks. Look, you have to prove it to them. You have to show it.
How does the card not prove it?
Because every Phoenix has sucked so hard. We even made a pie bet that Phoenix and Born of the Gods.
It was a rare though, right?
No, it was mythic.
Was it?
It was terrible.
Oh yeah, it was real bad.
And it was so bad. We were like guaranteed never to hit constructed ever. I mean, and it just wasn't.
But it had a really bad ability.
Well, here's the problem.
Its mechanic was terrible.
Like, basically, traditionally, Phoenixes have always sucked. Now, Chandra's Phoenix has, like, been the best one, but it was always kind of okay. Like, it was fine. It's better now because they have, Goblin Rabblemaster. It makes that card better. So, as Phoenixes have always been either, like, okay or, like, completely so bad we make fun of them, no one gives this any respect. It's just like, yeah, whatever. It's another crappy Phoenix. Screw it.
Yeah, like, I really wish that it just didn't have the name Phoenix on it, and then it would probably be a $10 card right now if it just didn't say Phoenix. It was the same card, and it was just some guy or some bird or something, you know?
Right, just something, but like, they've just sort of tainted the Phoenix name because the way that I think about it is that if a Phoenix was too good, it would be bad for the game.
Yeah.
If it were too good. Like, if it was like the best thing you could do in the format, it would be really annoying because why? It keeps coming back over and over. So they want to give you the feeling of the Phoenix coming back to life, but they don't want it to be so overpowered that that's all you ever do in standard, or that's all that you, like, fighting the Phoenix is the first part of the format. Like,
so
they wanted to make it good, but not overpowered.
So let's talk about this card.
All right, let's do it.
All right. There are a lot of things that you can just get rid of it with. Anger the Gods, Magma Spray, Banishing Light. I don't know all the different versions of white cards that can just get rid of it.
The new Journey to Nowhere.
Yeah, the new Journey.
Actually, no, because it's toughness 3 or more, eh?
But the Pillar of Light can get rid of it.
Yeah.
Abzan Charm can get rid of it. But outside of that, it's a 4-mana 4/1. And that's going to trade with a lot of things. That's going to pressure Planeswalkers. It's going to complement Goblin Rabblemaster and Sarkhan in more of a big red deck, and I think that's going to be a deck that exists.
So like Rabblemaster into Ashcloud into Sarkhan?
Yeah, and you have removal spells. You probably have some other creatures in there. I don't know how many colors you play. You might just be mono red with maybe a splash for like Chain to the Rocks and some other white removal spells. But in play, if this does not just get exiled, it just trades or attacks, but then flips back down as a 2/2. So it feels very Huntmaster-esque to me, where it's like a big, powerful card that gives you value. It doesn't die immediately.
And ironically, Huntmaster was totally underrated. You remember? It took the Pro Tour. It took the Pro Tour and like 4X Huntmaster and everything for that thing. It was like, oh yeah, that card is nuts.
Yeah, exactly. But this feels like it, but it has, I think this card has a deals 2 to both players because it was too good. Like, if this card was bad, they would not make it have a feel-bad mechanic on it for yourself. They wouldn't. It would just say flip up, deal 2 to someone.
Them, yeah.
And so this is a way to make the card not broken. And so you have to take damage too.
A bit more fair.
A bit more fair. And so this card, I think, is going to be very good because it's a mana sink. And the thing that is always how deck builders or new players or just everyone actually in the world.
Oh, now everyone ever.
When a new set comes out,
yeah,
they start building decks without any mana sinks, without any idea of like converted mana cost. And like having a deck that curves correctly and stuff like that. Everyone just builds without these things. But if we look back at last format and we look at all the formats right before they rotate, every deck has mana sinks. They have wolf runs, they have pack rats, they have Thasas. They have all these things to do that you have something to do when you don't have anything else to do.
Okay.
And your card just can naturally do something.
Sure.
And that's what this card does, is it can die and flip over. It can die and flip over. And when you don't have a lot of resources left, like you have 6-7 lands in play that are doing nothing. And so you can just keep flipping him over and being aggressive or trading. And that's why I love this card, because it seems powerful enough to be good on turn 4 and can keep you in the game on turn 10 when you have nothing else to do.
So what you're saying is pie bet.
Yes. What get this into a standard open for the next set?
How early can you give me? Give me the window. Give me a window.
The window?
Give me a window. This is a card that needs a window. This is a card that needs like the first 30 days, maybe the first 60 days of a format. This is a card that is eventually probably going to get there.
Okay.
But it might take a while.
I mean, do we always just do till the next set?
Well, we could.
So you don't want to do a pie bet for the next set. You want it to have a small window.
I feel like, well, it feels like either this card's going to blow up or the card's going to be terror bad. That's just, to me, like, this thing either is nuts or just, like, unplayable.
All right, it has to be in 2 different top 8s before the next set.
2 different top 8s. Grand Prix?
You can, I mean, sure.
Yeah?
I get Grand Prix, Opens, and Pro Tour, and hell, I'll even say I can't be the one to play it. Just take it and let's move on to the next
All right, I'm
card.
taking it. Let's do it.
Somebody keep a tally this time around, though.
Please. Someone did. No, someone did. And they did the last
Okay,
time.
we got it. Sweet.
We got it.
Awesome.
Sweet. All right, cool. Now, 4 mana.
Bring low.
Bring low. Like, okay.
Screeching.
I mean, this is one of those, like, definite scalpels. It's there to hurt the Obzon cards. It's there to hurt the Outlast cards. I mean, you kind of need it, I can imagine. Like, what this says to me is that, the Mardu or the red aggro decks are going to have a tough time with the white, green, black Obzon decks. You know what I mean? Like, they're just able to make these huge walls that you will have a hard time getting around, particularly if you don't answer them immediately. You know what I mean? Like, they outlast once, they outlast twice, and you're like, oh, God, now they're too big. Now I can't kill it. Well, this thing's is like, bonus.
Well, I think this is more of, like, the removal spell, too, to punish them in combat, like, right? Because they have to be sorcerer speed to put their counters on, and when they attack, it's when they're most vulnerable. And so, like, especially since they have the ally mechanic of, like, helping each other out, just being able to kill one at instant speed is going to shut down first strike or death touch or flying.
Yep.
And I really like that it is an instant. Also, it's, like I said earlier in the set review, instants get a lot more powerful in the set for the fact that you have things to do with morphs as well. Like, your mana, you're going to have a lot of options with your mana, and that's good because sometimes you might not want to cast this card, but then you can just flip something up.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good removal, at least what we've seen so far.
There has to be removal in a set with a bunch of morphs that are big, or we're just going to be staring at creatures over and over again and have no idea how to win a game.
Awesome. That means this is an early pick. You're going to enjoy the fact that it's instant is even more powerful, and it hates on those Obzon decks.
Yeah, I can see myself first picking this card.
Dragon Grip. Now, if you got Ferocious, this card is freaking ridiculous. This card is a massive, gigantic nuclear bomb blowout. I mean, like, they're never going to see it coming. You're going to be like, oh, I got a 4-power dude. And just, like, terrible. Like, hopefully they double blocked something, And then you're just like, oh, yeah.
Hopefully
and then
I
you
got
like to lap
all
around
the
the room,
value.
and you're just, like, high-fiving your buddies, and it's the hotness. Woo, woo.
We play Magic for 2 of the most different reasons ever. I want to, like, flip up my wall and then put this on it.
What?
Yeah, like to block like a 2, like a 4/2 or something.
Yeah,
Like
Pro Tour top 8.
No, I mean I think this card is very good, and it's mostly because if one guy's already big, he can share the love, right?
Right.
You can put this on one of your smaller guys to then blow them out.
I'm happy for that.
Oh yeah, I think this card seems fine. It's another enchantment, but it can. Like if you were able to put it on a guy in combat and kill their guy that matters, and then they turn around, untap, and kill your thing, it's still a 2-for-2, so it's not that big of a feel
Still
bad.
fine.
But just putting it on a guy as sorcery speed and then them blowing you out, that's why this card I feel is going to be situational and it's going to need a correct home.
Right, you kind of want, like, you want to be in the teamer deck, or you want to be, sort of in the realm of, I want to have larger than normal creatures, because just as an enchantment, it's not that good. No. But once you have the Ferocious, it is cray. And it's unbelievably sweet. I like this card because it's like, it's just subtly terrible. It's very hard to really see how bad. It's great when there's no blockers, but if there's like any blockers at all in the morph set, it's terrible. Like, it's not even worth unmorphing, you know what I mean? You're just like, oh, you killed it because I killed yours, and it's the 5/2. Sorry.
Yeah, and if there were like morphs that could blow you out in the first couple turns, which I'm glad there's not. I'm glad there's no morph that just flips into a 2/3, right?
Yeah, they did a great job with that. I'm so happy for that.
But like if you attack and they're like, no blocks, and you have nothing to do, you're like, all right, take 5.
Yeah,
and
that's really powerful.
And now they're like, now I have to keep back, and maybe I'm like, I have another thing I can like make my guy get through.
Right.
This is a cheap way to get Ferocious. Like, I think this card will see a decent amount of play. It's not going to be the best thing ever.
Yeah, it's not unplayable. It's just not very good. I mean, and again, as we sort of mentioned over the set review, is that there's just so many good cards in the set. There's not a lot of like just straight stinkers. So like this is bad, but just it's like just kind of marginally bad. It's not just straight terrible. It's just not good as much as the other, like basically every other morph we've almost talked about generally, because it trades with morphs, and that sucks. Goblin Slide.
What a weird card.
This card is awesome.
I really want to know if it's going to like being constructed. It's a card that's either going to be terrible or awesome. Maybe it's a sideboard card. Maybe it gets there. Maybe it doesn't.
I don't know about that. I don't see constructed play. I just see like this is a spider spawning type of card, and spider spawning was an Innistrad. It built its own archetype around using flashback.
Let's go with Burning Vengeance. Actually, this is literally just Burning Vengeance.
This is straight Burning Vengeance.
Yeah,
sure.
it's like you. There are times with Burning Vengeance back in the day when I would draft assuming I'd get one, and then I wouldn't get one, and I couldn't win the draft.
Yep, that's pretty much it. You know, if you're on the Goblin slide plan, like your fingers are being crossed, and you don't want anyone to cut you off, and you want to have this type of card, but like if you get it, the deck around it will be super sweet. You'll have a bunch of cool cantrips. You'll pay another mana and get a dude out of it. Like you can just kind of keep doing this. A lot of those non-creature spells we've noticed, have cantrips on top of them, so that's terrific. And I love the build around me on commons. Wizards recognizes they need this type of thing in sets, and so there is.
Oh, and they're so much fun when you have a lot of removal spells. A card like this could just take over the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you just kill a guy and make a token attack with it, and they play another guy, and you're like, kill a guy and make a token attack with it. And even if you can't kill the next guy, you have 2 goblins on the board now.
Exactly. And
at the low cost of 5 mana.
Yeah, you paid money for them. I mean, nothing comes easy, buddy, but it's super fun.
No, that is a fun card.
It's a fun card. Now, this is one of those like, if you're not really like aiming to make this good, don't draft this. Or you're hate drafting it. You're drafting because you don't want the other guy to get it. But like, it's not a card you can kind of just throw in and hope that your 5 or 6 spells actually get there. This is the one where you draft 10 to 12 spells and then you get this as one of those spells.
You have all the prowess flyers, and this is just to like keep you in the game and chump block. And I think that's what this card's trying to do.
Absolutely. So, super cool. Dragon style twins. That's card.
I don't know. This could be constructed playable.
Maybe.
I don't think it's better than Fabled Hero, but at the same time, it's a better color than Fabled Hero.
That's
for this kind of effect. And there is the 2-card combo, right?
I saw that. The +6/+6 delve spell.
It turns into a 10/10 double strike with prowess.
Insta win.
Yeah, I think that this could be a random sleeper because it doesn't feel like everything sits on top of this, right? Like
everything. It's all about what do you have in your hand, what's on the board when this thing actually enters play.
Yeah, but I'm talking like for constructed, everything. Yeah. Oh, okay. For starters, this is a windmill slam bomb and limited. Like it's just unbelievable.
It's crazy good.
Double strike with prowess is gross. Just a 5 mana 3/3 double strike. You don't even need prowess, and it's going to be busted.
Yep.
But like for constructed play, like you have Stormbat Dragon, Nissa, and Sarkhan just all sitting on top of it, and it's already a 5-drop creature, so that's kind of
right. It's hard to say this is better than Sarkhan. You know what I mean? Like if when you're building your decks and you're looking at your mana curve and what you have to cut or what you have available, and you're like Dragon Style Twins versus Sarkhan, you're probably choosing Sarkhan.
Yeah.
Pretty much every time. Now, not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just that this is the type of card that it's just like it's always real close to constructed, but it doesn't get there.
Yeah.
But it's cool that there's a 2-card combo in standard that wins automatically.
That is pretty sweet.
That is neat. Hordeling outburst, 3 red dudes.
Seriously. And I seriously think this card is good.
Card is
like very good. I think it's going to see constructive play, and the main reason is not because
wait, it starts with R and ends with Abelmaster?
I mean, that'll be in the deck too.
Okay, sweet. All right, sweet.
But it works with 2 other cards that I think are also going to be very good in the format. We just have to find the right shell, which is Perforos and Stoke the Flames. Stoke the Flames and Rabblemaster are 2 of the best cards to come out of M15. They were both bonkers good. And part of it always makes me feel so good when I look at Rabblemaster on Star City's website and I just see it's just sold out.
Oh yeah.
And I just love that we just can't keep it in stock. And we were the only people in the Pro Tour to play the card. Like the only.
Oh man.
Feels good.
You gotta brush your shoulders off.
It does. But this card seems great with Perforos, great with Stoke the Flames, just being able to be the Burning Tree Emissary thing where you play it and then you can just stoke and then untap and attack with them.
Sure.
After Perf is in play, it's just 6 damage, and that's huge. And I don't know if the Goblins are going to be relevant enough on their own, but it's like you could theoretically think of it as a 3/3 for 3 in a red deck, which has the ability to do other awesome things with other cards.
Right.
So I'm going to put this as I would not be surprised if it sees constructive play. And once I get a good grasp on what people are trying to do in the format, I will probably be brewing with this card.
Nice. I mean, otherwise, it's very good and limited. You're going to, enjoy getting 3 dudes that can double up on a morph, or they're just, more guys to make the ground messier or whatever. It's great on turn 3, obviously. You pick it early, play it, enjoy. It's sweet. Jeering Instigator. interesting card.
This is an interesting Magic card.
I like, well, this is really good and limited, just like, because we, all the stuff we talk about active treason, it's on a dude. Like, play it. This is great.
And it's a 2-drop when you need a 2-drop, and it's later in the game when you need something later in the game.
Man, I'd feel real bad playing this as a 2-drop, though.
I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do, man. You gotta win the game.
Well, maybe, but, like, value.
That's the split card, though. You have to think of this as a split card in an aggressive deck. If you don't have a 2-drop, you just play a 2-drop.
Fine. I feel really bad about it.
Why would you feel bad about
Because
it?
they're not getting value, Brad. That's how it works.
The value is your name having a 2 by it. That's the value.
On the match slip?
Yes.
Well, but then I can't flip him and take his dude and do a cool thing. It's cool, right? Am I right? I'm right.
No. And then after the match, everyone's gonna come to me and be like, so I was 1 mana short of flipping my guy to steal his Pelucranos, and then I even had a green mana and I could have fought, but I didn't draw it.
It's whatever. Okay, so granted, it's really good and limited.
Yeah.
Is it good enough in constructed?
Oh yeah, this will see some play somewhere. I mean, just for the fact that it's a 2-drop in a red deck that also gives you value later in the game.
But it can give you value now. It can give you value all the time.
I know, as a 2-drop that attacks.
2-drop.
How are you not seeing this?
Leaping Master. I love the Kung Fu, the Wurtang clan, baby.
This is
so good.
This one's good. It's this
card is
also
awesome.
This is also just a 2-drop.
Now this is the 2-drop I'm behind. This is all about the 2-drops. What? No, yeah, this is great. There's no. It could
Because there
morph.
aren't other options.
No, look, I would be against it. Like if this had morph and it turned up for a white and 2 colorless, and if you flipped it face up, it gained flying permanently. That would be different. Then I would be like, I wouldn't feel great about playing this.
Then I would ask why we're in the Matrix and how we can just fly around all day.
Oh, right.
Right, this is not a leaping master anymore. This is just a flying master.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. You seen Crouching Tiger? The movie was
I have.
That's
That
great.
movie was great.
All right.
But the thing that I love about this card, and this is a limited thing, is that you want mana sinks, like I was talking about in constructed. Same thing applies to limited. You like having curve out cards. This comes in on turn 2. You might trade early with it, but later in the game when you have nothing to do with your mana, but flying's a path to not only victory, but you could also block. That's what this guy can do with extra land. So I always love mana sinks on creatures that have 2 power for 2 mana. They're always really high on my list, and I want all my 2-drops to be like these kind of cards.
Yeah, this card is terrific. It's going to see playing all the Mardu decks, all the Jeskai decks. I mean, it's just tailor-made to end games, honestly, because it just gives itself evasion.
Yep.
And that's awesome. Bloodfire Mentor. That's a good dude. He's a good dude. It's like, all right. Like, I wonder, like, so they called up the artist, like, could you print the most condescending thing ever? All right, awesome. And then I don't know what to say. It's just you're just a dude.
Yeah, I mean,
you loot. It's an okay card. It triggers raid because it can attack with 0 power, and it's a looter, and it's a mana sink.
and it makes a 5/5 with the green black card.
That green black card, sweet.
I can't wait. That's all I want to do.
Yeah, but John is not really supported in this type of environment, bro. So it'd be kind of weird.
Well, I agree with that, and I do.
Yeah, as you should.
So speaking of which, I signed up for the pre-releases.
Oh yeah.
And they're like, "What do you want to be?" I'm like, "Obzon," just because I need to make the guy. I'm just gonna rip through my packs to get the thing.
Gotta make the dude.
Yeah, but
Yep.
we have figured out that tapping and not paying mana to loot has been bad for many years.
It's probably too good.
It is too good,
Yeah.
especially since we all made so much fun of Research Assistant. And the first time I drafted the set, I had 3, and they were awesome.
They're really sweet.
The first time. And not only now these can actually trigger raid and block morphs. This card, I
block
think
really well. I like this card a lot because at the end of their turn is when you're going to activate this guy.
Yeah.
And it's just so good at blocking everything.
Yeah, looting is another great thing in limited. It's one of the most broken mechanics in limited, in my opinion, just for the fact that
The card
both
filtering.
players are going to draw a lot of lands, and you don't need all of them. And so getting rid of them, you have a huge difference. If you see a looter in play, like go watch a game of limited this weekend and just see who has a looter in play. And one person will have 8 lands or 9 lands in play, and one will have 5. And I'm pretty sure the person with 5 is going to win unless they have the other guy has a mythic in play. But that's really what it feels like. Is like you just get rid of all your lands and you get through to find all your spells.
Yep, pretty much. So, I mean, again, this is a pick that if you're super aggressive, you're not going to look for it. You know, if you're probably looking at sort of a Jeskai Skies deck, it's pretty good because it just holds the ground, it blocks huge things, it blocks creatures with ferocious, 4
Yeah, I mean,
power.
5 toughness is really
very
good
high
on a card like this.
Yeah, on a looter, it's serious. I mean, like, because this card could have easily been a 1/1 or whatever, and then it would have just been way worse. But now it can block everything and then do this at the end of their turn.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think that this is a higher pick than most people would.
This is way higher than that. This card is extremely good. This is the first raid card they debuted, and to me, it's. I'm glad they did. They chose the right one. I think this is sort of the perfect raid card to show you, like, it's aggressive, it's good, it's powerful. You're going to first pick it, if not pick it super crazy early.
See, the first time I saw this card, I was just like, look at that power creep. Look at how much better this card is than Flame Tongue Kabu. It's ridiculous. Okay, I'm joking. But that was my actual reaction.
Nice, of course it was. Right.
But no, the card is awesome. It was a great first choice for them. It's going to be great in this limited format because a lot of the cards, if you've seen a trend, is either they have 0 toughness or 0 power and like 5 toughness, or they're all around 2.
Yep.
And so this kills a lot of the creatures in the format, especially the ones that cost 1 million mana to unmorph, right? So they're going to cast them for cheap. And that's when you can pick them off. And this is a great card at doing that.
If you're able to get like a sweet rare morph or whatever from this 2 damage, like, that's just the best feeling.
Yeah, and if you attack with a morph and they're like, yep, nope, not blocking, you're like, yeah, that's dead. I need to kill that. That's probably really sweet magic card under there.
That's that 6/6 hexproof trample dude. He's dying.
Sagumala.
Yeah, pick it early, play it all the time. It's great. No constructive possibility because it's just, you're never going to pay 4 mana for 2/3 and constructive.
Yeah, this is when you're casting your Perforoses, your Chandras, your Pelucridoses, that's what you're casting in standard.
But it's a terrific limited card. It really is, and that doesn't take away from it at all. Howl of the Horde. It's neat.
I mean, are you kidding? You talk about all the cool value, and this is not one of the things.
Value down. All right, well, so the problem is, like, I just know that these types of cards don't really work out. They just never have. It's just, like, they've tried to make Fort good a million times.
No, but there's a card that makes this card potentially playable.
What is it now?
I forgot the name, but it's the Jeskai Lord, the one where you attack.
Narset?
Narset, yeah. So if you attack with Narset, and let's just say best, like,
okay, so you flip this over with her.
Yeah, Magic Crystal. No, you flip 2 of them over with her. And you go Howl, and then any spell is multiplied by 7. Your next spell is multiplied by 7, yes.
What?
Because the first Howl is 3, and then your second Howl will get copied twice.
Oh my god!
And it's 7 copies.
All right, so it's Howl, Lightning Strike, GG.
Well, right? no, it's Howl, and then Lightning Strike is 7 times.
Right.
I think that's how it works.
I'll take it.
I'm not a math expert. Because it's a copy it 3 times, so you copy Howl 3 times. Right. And those all copy.
I think this is a super fun spell. I think there's no doubt that there's a lot of fun in this. I don't think there's a lot of competitiveness. Now, when I get excited is when it is both fun and powerful, lots of value, and competitive. Yeah. But I've been burnt way too many times on a million different fork effects, just costed a million different ways, and they really can't go any cheaper than 3 mana. You don't want them to go any cheaper than 3 mana. You don't want this to kind of like wreck standard anyway, but like it's certainly super sweet.
I mean, I think flipping this card over that's the deck. Like, you just build a...
That's your combo deck.
That's your combo deck in the format. You just attack. You don't care if it dies. You're just going to try to combo him with Howl.
Right.
And that's sweet. I mean...
It's super sweet. I'm just saying, like, it's just a little out there.
I don't know. Attack with it. Howl, lightning strike you.
Howl.
I think it's going to be cool.
I mean, look, I hope it's awesome. All right, so how is this unlimited?
Oh, it's awful.
I was going to say, this is crap, right?
It's just terrible, yeah.
It's
like the worst thing ever.
Well, really? It's not the worst.
I mean, it's in the bottom 5 in the set, I'm assuming.
It's pretty bad.
Because you have to have something that you can also cast and relevant.
And a dude who attacks.
Yeah, you need another spell or it won't do anything, or it does nothing.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Pretty bad and limited. Mardu Blaze Bringer. He's bringing the blaze, yo.
He is bringing the blaze. I really like the idea that the flavor of this card is just he sits there And then you're like, all right, I need you to do something. He just like lights himself on fire and just runs.
I'm in, let's do it!
Until he dies. And then pretty much you're just like, why did he do that? And it's like, I don't know. That's what they do. That clan's weird. They take their battles really seriously.
That's awesome. Now, this does kind of sit around and trigger Ferocious, which is nice. And ultimately, this is the type of card that you're going to swing with, or you're going to block with if something's going to kill you.
No, this is the card that you do not play.
Well, I'm just trying to give it a little bit.
Well, I want them to know. This is like a judge ruling. I'm not going to explain what happened before I explain what's going to happen.
Right.
And why.
And you're just going to say no.
Yeah, this is no. Do not touch this card. It's really bad.
It's really pretty bad.
This is pretty much a situational deal 4 to their face. Like, sometimes you could block with it, but you're also just trading 2 cards no matter what. And a lot of times, it's like, what's that card called? It does see some constructive play. Vexing Devil?
Yeah.
Is that the 4/3? No, I'm thinking the 4/3 for 1 mana.
Yeah, it's Vexing Devil.
Yeah, Vexing Devil. Yeah, Vexing Shusher is the
Vexing
one.
Shusher was actually
That's what you're thinking.
That's exactly what I was thinking of.
I know this, man. I know him.
This guy.
So, Vexing Devil is the kind of card in Limited that they're like, huh? Huh? And you're like, no, I'm at 16, of course. Can I go? Like, no, you cannot have this card in play. And that's exactly what this is, but even worse.
But worse. Don't play it. It's bad at the end. Mardu War Shrieker. It's weird. This ability is weird. I don't understand the, make Mardu mana, dude. That's strange.
What? It's awesome. Cole Stoker, baby.
It's fine. For what it's worth, it's great. I mean, it's a good card. It's a hill giant no matter what, so it's playable.
Yeah.
If you're able to, turn 4, play this, and then play something else, that's amazing.
And just remember that this is, its ability gives you Mardu mana, but Morph is colorless, so you can play this in a teamer deck and just attack with something, and then you get 2 guys into play.
Absolutely.
And that's magnificently powerful. I think that this card is going to be very good, a high pick, and it's going to generate a ton of tempo in a lot of the matches. So take this high. It's not it's best in a Mardu deck, but it doesn't have to be in a Mardu deck because Morphs cost 3.
Yep, because Morphs cost 3, this is really super sweet. Now, it's kind of like the counterpart to the Rattleclaw Mystic that we'll talk about next time, but, in sort of the Mardu way. It's not about unmorphing, it's about attacking. And I think that's cool and that's flavorful, and no matter what, it's still a hill giant, and you're still going to want this. Horde Ambusher. This card is so sweet.
This card is very good.
God, I love this card.
Yeah, I like that it has a morph ability that's relevant to combat, but also has a punishing ability in combat. So you don't want to block with it, obviously, or you're going to take a damage. But yeah, it's so good to just be able to make something not block for a red deck. Like, that's what they want. Yeah, for free. You just have to make it a morph.
That's the best price ever.
And the great thing about this card is that in troubling times, you can set up boards where you don't have to play that until the turn you kill them, right? You're just like, morph, reveal this card that I'm going to kill that with. That can't block, kill that, attack you. Or it's like this in Active Treason for 6 mana. It's like, that can't block, still that, attack you.
Yay!
Those turns are going to exist in this card. This is a high pick and aggressive deck just for the fact that not only is it a 2-drop, but it has added value later in the game.
Oh, man, it's so good. It's just hard to not, to fully kind of get the scope of how many good things this card is going to do for you, and be what you need it to be whenever you need it to be that.
Yeah.
I just need a 2-drop monster. Here you go.
Yeah.
I need something that's going to trick them into playing their huge mythic thing. Great. And then, whatever. They can't block anymore. Card is fantastic. This card is also fantastic, but I don't think it's quite as good in Limited, but I think it's good and constructed. I think it could be really good and constructed.
So does anyone remember, well, I remember it vividly.
Goblin Guide?
No, well, the Goblin Guide, yes, but does anyone remember when Tom Ross kind of just destroyed all of us in a top 8 of an invitational? Not the last one.
The other one he destroyed. Not the last one, the one before.
That other time.
That time.
Yeah, I was one of his victims. There was a top 8 where he actually shuffled more than played.
Yeah.
In the entire top 8.
All right. That's how it worked.
And you can actually count it. It's a race, and he wins by a minute and a half.
Wow,
of
really?
Shuffling, of shuffling and sideboarding more than actual gameplay.
That's amazing.
No, it's not.
Well, it is amazing. Not necessarily intriguing to watch.
But his deck was called Boss Sly. Go back and take a look at it if you're not familiar with it. But it was a 17 mountain, hyper aggressive 1- and 2-drop deck with a Crow and Crusaders and Titan Strengths and Dragon Mantles. And I'm pretty sure that this guy would just love to hang with those guys.
Yes,
he's
perfect.
just like, I'm ready for that party. That's kind of my thing.
Let's do this, man. This card is awesome. I mean,
is very good.
You want to burn something now. If it's a 2/3, like the fact that it's a 1/2 is like, for me, that's the push. The push was it's not only a 1/1 or a 1 power hasted prowess dude for 1 mana. It's a 1/2, which means it bumps into a 2/3, which makes it even more difficult to get rid of.
Yeah, and it's just it wants the same spells that a Chrome Crusader wants. And the great thing, the funny thing is, after I seen this card, I was just like, I bet if Wizards paid attention and they saw the Thomas deck, they're like, wow, they found it like 8 months early.
I know, right? Dang it, too early, guys, too early.
Yeah, because that's just going to be a deck. Like the 18 Mountain, Dragon Mantle, Titan Strength. There's a couple other good cards in this set, but like Stoke the Flames, you probably curve out at Rabble Master.
Oh, man.
Lightning Strike. And then just a bunch of 1-drops and a couple of the 2-drops that we still have to get to. I haven't seen. We have the constructed playable aggressive red creature still coming.
Yeah, absolutely. So with this, you have an amazing constructed card. Is it good enough and limited?
That's situational. Like I think that a 1/2. I've always told people to not play 1-drops that don't have relevant abilities in
This one's
limited.
certainly relevant.
It's kind of, but like I need to play with prowess in limited to see what it feels like because it's such a flash in the pan ability, right? Like,
Well,
it's
it
like,
is, but like I would argue this is a very playable card. I would argue this is a very good card in the Mardu aggro decks. This is the 1-drop that you want, basically beyond all others. Because if you can get this guy out turn 1, you're triggering all of your raid, and then they're basically scared to death to block with any of their morphs. Like, obviously, we know to make them have it, but not everyone knows to make them have it. So when they go turn 3 morph go, like, the first thing you do is turn this guy sideways. You, like, draw and hit you. And,
I mean, yeah,
make them think that you always have it, and a lot of times
well,
they
it
will
also
respect
it also is great when you can play like your Goblin slide on turn 3, right? And those enchantments.
Yeah.
To go along with it. The only issue I have with hyper aggressive strategies in limited is for sealed they're not going to be good. Like
For sealed, it's not gonna
Jeskai's
work
not
out.
a great guild to go in for sealed. For the
No,
fact
you
that
got to have a ridiculous amount of
you want
really good
mana
cards.
sinks and you want big spells and you want a good consistent curve. You don't want to be always being aggressive because the problem in limited is if you're an aggressive deck, my job is to just like contain you.
Right.
And you're gonna peter out eventually.
Stabilize.
Stabilize, but also just contain, right? Because
Right.
I don't want to just stabilize because stabilizing means you're not attacking me anymore. But that means you might be building up a board.
Sure.
And building up a board means that you might have a card that just kills me like Icy Blast.
Right.
So I want to contain you. I want to have us trade a bunch, and I want your board to never be able to kill me through any spell in the
You're in a
format.
nice little box.
Yeah,
Right
that's
there.
pretty much what I want out of. That's what you have to do. Imagine now, stabilize, turn into contain because the cards are just so absurd. But this card is going to be bonkers and constructed. Everyone that saw like Rebel Red die with rotation and hoping that there's going to be a deck, this just proves that there's a deck because this is the closest Wizards could ever get to printing Goblin Guide, and it might potentially be better.
Yeah, Goblin Guide was just, I don't know if I would call it a straight mistake, but it was just way too good for its
I have a
time
question
period.
for you.
What?
Does this card hit Modern Legacy? I mean, what does a burn deck want
You know
to do
why
on turn
it
2?
doesn't hit Modern Legacy? Goblin Guide.
Well, but you might want more. How many Goblin Guides
Really?
would
I
How many
mean-
Goblin Guides would you play if you could? Like 12, 16?
Something like that.
I mean, but a burn deck kind of wants to do the same thing, right?
Well, I mean, sort of. I mean, you have Grim Lavamancer was kind of an important bit because it gave you reach. Like Goblin Guide doesn't really give you reach. Like it lets you kind of burst out the gates with aggro and aggression, and that's great. But it doesn't give you a long game, and that's what a lot of the other creatures in the deck would do.
I know, but this card,
This card,
I think that this card could see some
I would
modern
not.
play.
I would not be super shocked. I'm just saying that like Goblin Guide's really.
I
tough
would not
to
be
do.
super shocked. Well, I'm going to super shock you.
Are you gonna super shack? I'm gonna super shack. Fine, whatever. Tormenting voice. I can't hear you, wild guess. What?
Yeah.
What? You're terrible. What?
Why do you keep printing these same stupid cards? That's what this feels like.
I mean, it's whatever.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's better now than it was before.
It's a fun card that if you want to try to do some reanimator plan in these colors, that's where it's at. Like, it's not a card you want to play in limited for the fact that the problem with these type of effects is, for example, the Goblin Lottery, right? Like when you're using the Goblin Looter effect, like the red looter effect, where you have to discard and draw.
Discard first, yeah.
Yeah, you discard and draw. like, you never know if you really want to do it because you don't know what to expect. But the problem with a card like this is you can play it because you're like, oh, when I draw too many lands, I want to discard them. Well, what happens when you have this and all spells and you don't have a land?
Right.
Right? And now you're going to discard your spells to draw lands? Or what if your hand's really good, except this card, you don't want to use this yet? So now it's just sitting in your hand. It could have been something else, and it could have helped you win the game.
It's a terrible top deck. You know what I mean? Like if you guys are on an empty board and people are just playing off the top,
Yeah.
and then you'll rip this, and then you'll be like hating life because you're playing it. But then the second part is you're gonna rip another spell. Like, it's guaranteed to happen because you're gonna rip it. You're gonna be like, and then you have to start debating, like, is this spell better than those two random cards on top? And then you're going to play it, and you're going to rip two lands, and you're going to hate all existence, and just flip tables, and I'm just out of here. And
Or
just,
you're going to rip
nope, off to space.
I think the best is, like, you're going to rip a land, and you're going to discard, and the card that you drew, now you need another land.
You needed that land, or you needed that specific color, or that number of lands.
No, you had to tap 2 that turn, so now you're down to, like, 4, and you draw a 5-drop, and you're like, go, and...
This is a card that just frustrates. You know you're going to look like Sarkhan when you draw this thing.
You are.
I hate this card. Shatter. Woo-woo. Good old-fashioned, straight from Alpha, Shatter.
Which, I mean, I think this might be the Swedish Shatter art. Just
It's
for the
pretty
fact
cool.
That it's just a big ape. Just
I love the
ripping
arrows
apart.
in him.
Yeah.
And he's just...
Yeah, kill shot does not kill him. No.
The end. Valley Dasher. He's a dashing. This card is great in your aggro decks. It's just really good in your Mardu aggro decks. It's good in draft.
Yes, in draft. It's also it's such a situational card for the fact that, like, when you're behind, you can never cast it. I don't really like effects like this. Like, the reason I liked what was it, Minotaur Death Bellow Raiders?
Yeah,
is because it had toughness and had regeneration. So when you get stuck attacking with it,
you can just keep
you
regenerating.
can just regenerating it if you have extra lands. But with this guy, he's really vulnerable, and when you are forced to attack into something with toughness, you have to have you are forced to either lose your card or always have the answer.
Sure.
And so it's really weird when we keep talking about, like, make them have it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you literally get to make the guy with the card always make him have it. Like, you just are like, yeah, block. You did have it.
I'm like,
block.
oops, great. I mean, I'm just saying, like, I can definitely see that this is sort of a curve filler. You know what I mean? Like, when you're in these super aggro decks or you're drafting a very aggressive deck, like, this is a card you're looking for because you're like, oh, I need the 1-drops and the 2-drops and the 3-drops. Like, I got to hit that curve, and this card lets you do that.
I consider this a lesson. These are one of the cards that Wizards printed to teach Magic players a lesson about why cards are bad and why cards are good. Sometimes this will be fine, but I would say 80% of the time this is just going to not feel good.
It's going to make you sad. For God's sakes, don't play it in sealed. You will feel really bad about it. Summit Prowler, 4 mana, 4/3.
They finally figured it out. Ever since the I can't remember the first time they printed it a couple years ago, but it's been
it was
in every
Minotaurs,
set.
wasn't it?
Yeah, I think Minotaurs. Ever since then, they've just printed it every time.
Yep, 4 mana, 4/3.
They figured out that this is the correct generic card, and it's a good card. This is never going to be the most amazing bonkers card, but there's not many times that if I'm in a red deck that I don't want to cast it on turn 4.
Yep, you want it. I mean, you're not going to first pick it, but you're probably going to pick it kind of...
I mean, 3, 4, 5. Like, that's where
something like that.
You take them kind of early.
Yeah, this is to take it kind of early. Don't take it. Like, I would expect it to table. Don't do that.
No.
So take it kind of early, but it's just going to fit in basically every red deck you want. Almost whether it's Mardu or there's Jeskai, like 4 mana 4/3 is just good.
Yeah.
It's just a good old fashioned Magic card. Trumpet Blast. We've seen this before.
We've seen it in a lot of different iterations.
Yep.
It's
I mean, this works well with the 3 Goblin spell. The 3 1/1 Goblin spells obviously works well with this.
Works with prowess.
Yeah, it helps prowess a lot. It helps sort of like get through that last bit of damage when you're trying to kill them.
Get through the critical mass. This is the card that's why I say contain, because if they have a bunch of guys and they attack with all of them, I'm just like, they have Trumpet Blast, and now I'm just gonna get destroyed, or at least like the boards are going to be wiped, but all my big guys, aren't there. And so this is the kind of one-of that you want when your deck does have the Goblin card or Goblin Slide, or just a very aggressive curve with a lot of guys. You don't want this card in decks that have a lot of removal, because you're using your removal to get through. So you're going to have a hand with like a guy or two, or you'll have a board with 2 guys, 2 removal spells in this.
Right.
So when you don't have a lot of removal, you have like 20 guys, is perfect. Play like 2 copies of it and just keep getting in.
Yep, and it'll eventually get there, for you. But this is not a card that generally you want to run a lot of unless your deck is just like mono.
Yeah, if you just
basically.
Yeah, you just get the guy deck.
Yep, if you get the mono dude deck, it's pretty good. Swift kick. Yeah, I'll tell you where I'll give you a swift kick.
In that Minotaur's face.
In the Minotaur face? In the Minotaur face.
I think it's a Minotaur or Demon. I don't know.
Something. Maybe it's an Efreet.
Oh, yeah. Efreets are always the tricky ones. You can never tell. But
yeah, they're weird. This is a spell that is here. It helps with prowess. It kind of gets dudes out of the way. I think it's going to work really well in Teamer, where you have a lot of big dudes who are able to have the toughness that's sort of necessary.
Well, they already have their fight cards. I mean, I'm pretty sure that this is the prowess fight card because they don't want it to be like if this was the Teamer one, it would be +1/+1. Well, sure. Green's all about growth. So this is the Jeskai version of fighting, and you can't get the toughness pump because that's just not right for the color pie.
Right, and it's perfect because it's an instant. And that helps your prowess basically at every point.
Yeah, so they go to block, or the big one is like they double block, and you have a prowess that blows them out. So you're like, use this guy that's not getting blocked to fight your small guy that's helping team up on the one guy and then kill that guy. That's what you're looking for. And also you can just use this early in the game when you have a guy that's not going to trade with theirs, just to get like a morph that you're afraid of. If they showed you like a really powerful morph.
Yep, I mean, because prowess gives you +1/+1, this effectively gives you +2/+1 for all those cards, and then lets you fight something, which is very good.
This is a really good card.
Yep, I like it a lot. This is a pretty good Magic card.
I mean, I would expect to get it like 4th or 5th.
Yeah, maybe sometimes
it'll never table. It'll never table.
Right. Okay.
Right.
But Sarkhan, the Dragonspeaker, is the real deal. He was one of the first cards spoiled. Sarkhan, he's had 2 previous versions. He had Vol, who was overhyped, more hyped than Elspeth at the time, or Johnny Vengeant. He was more. Oh yeah.
They hyped him more than Elspeth?
Oh yeah. Wow. Oh yeah. He was more expensive than Elspeth. For a good long while, for a couple of weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, and then people were just like, wait a minute, Elspeth is insane. And then they kind of
sounds like the
out.
Bitter Blossom, where I've bought my Bitter Blossom for $3 or something on Moto. And
yeah, and then the best card in Morningtide. But Sarkhan the Dragonspeaker, he then had Sarkhan the Mad, which was from Rise of the Eldrazi, and then he was just which was cool because the Spanish version is Sarkhan El Loco. I'm not kidding. It's brilliant. It's Sarkhan El Loco. It's amazing. But, the Dragonspeaker finally kind of gives us a Sarkhan that is just through and through good. Now, Sarkhan the Mad did see a little play. I'm not saying it didn't.
I mean, the card was good.
Yeah, I'm just saying that, it wasn't great. I think this card is great. I think this card is just going to be one of the defining cards of the format. It can kill any 4 toughness creature. It can turn into a friggin' dragon. I mean, I obviously went off on this thing on the Magic Show, but,
You went off good, right?
Went off good, yes.
Okay.
I was freaking out a little bit because of how good it was. That's my job. But I love this card. I think it's super powerful. I love that they finally gave Sarkhan a great Planeswalker card.
Yeah. So there's one lesson about this card. I've seen it in play already, and I've seen where it's good and where it's bad. You use Sarkhan as a removal spell that also can kill your opponent, not as a creature that also can be a removal spell. And what I mean is you don't put it in your 25 guy deck, and it's this will complement my 5 removal spells. You put it in your 20 removal deck to complement your 8 threats or whatever.
Sure.
And so I've seen this card be great in decks that just go kill that, kill that, kill that, play a Sarkhan, kill that, or attack you.
Right.
And you're just trying to build control of the board. You're not trying to race your opponent.
Right.
And I would much rather play that's going to be the difference. You play Stormbreath Dragon in decks that is ramping, like the green ramp decks, and you play this guy in your Mardu control deck.
I was going to say more of a control deck type card. Yeah, it's super powerful, and obviously in limited, it's a windmill first pick. You're going to love it, and it's going to be worth a whole bunch of money.
Just going to kill people.
Yeah, I mean the card is bonkers.
This is a safe bet for being good for a very long time in constructed.
Yep.
So I don't know where the price is going to fall, but keep on to them. They're not going to dip real low. They're not going to. I don't think there's ever going to be a time in standard until maybe the next set, depending on what happens, that this card does not see play. I feel like this is just the Elspeth, right? They pushed Elspeth real hard, and now we're still seeing Elspeth winning games.
Right.
And now they're pushing Sarkhan. Sarkhan's the story guy.
Yep.
Wizards has learned that they make the guy based around the story really freaking good.
Yep.
And this card is going to be played for the whole season, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, probably the entire time it's around. I mean, with Aeros, even when Elspeth came out, and we talked about this a little bit, was, there's a lot of sort of is she good? Is she really that good? She's 6 mana. That's so much. And it's yeah, she's kind of insane, and they did that on purpose. So sometimes when Wizards has to make cards good, They don't do it very well, and you have like sort of feast and famine, where like these cards like have to be good, quote unquote, and then they kind of push it too hard. But for the planeswalkers, I'm kind of okay with that. You know what I mean? Like I'm kind of like if the coolest thing that you can do in standard is to play Elspeth, play one of the iconic characters of the game, and she's awesome, that's great. That's good for Magic. You don't want the best card in Magic to be some random uncommon, or the best card in standard rather, be this random thing. You want it to be like the key dude who is about the set stuff. Like,
I will agree to an extent, just for the fact that the problem that I have with Elspeth is the games play out the same every single time you cast her.
Sure.
Whereas like Sarkhan, the games aren't going to play out the same. Like I can see this card just being a control. Complementing all your control spells. Like Sarkhan is so much better than Elspeth in the sense that every time I played Elspeth, the same thing happened. Tick up, tick up, tick up, you're dead. And this card, like its ultimate, actually changes the way the game's played. Like you now have a different route to victory. But I do think that the ultimate is not better than attacking with a dragon. But maybe.
Maybe. I mean,
I'm pretty sure it's not, though.
It's double grafted skull cap, I think it is.
Pretty much, yeah. You draw 3 cards and then have to discard at the end of the turn.
Yep. And but I just love the fact that those ultimates exist that way. You know what I mean? It's not like oh my god, you just win the game, not close ultimate. It's like, oh, I could make him a dragon again, or I could like do this. I'm not sure which one I should do. That's a really interesting kind of tension push-pull on that.
Pretty much what I think is going to happen is you're going to have a Sarkhan on 6. They're going to have a Corsair on top of the deck as utter end. You're like, we'll see what happens.
It's fine, thanks. I mean, but again, this card is bonkers. It's great. It's format defining. I love it. Wizards did a great job. It's sweet. War name aspirant. Okay. I hate the name. Aspirant is a weird term. Yeah. No one wants to be an aspirant. It sounds like antiperspirant. It's weird. Like as aspirant, I don't know. I mean, I get the flavor of the card. I like the flavor of the card. For what it's worth, like this card tells a whole story, right? Like it's the warrior. The warriors don't get their names until they're in battle. Like you want it to be in battle. I actually think this card is like super powerful. I would not be surprised if it wasn't constructed. And actually because of that last line right there. Can't be blocked with power 1 or less. Like that's a very developer-specific note. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of a scalpel they put on cards like these.
Yeah, this is like screw you, Elspeth.
Yeah, it's like why does it say it again? Oh yeah, the planeswalker that's completely crushing right now. Like this gets through all the Elspeth tokens. That's important, which to me says that's why this is pushed to the point where it could be constructed viable. Like all you have to do is attack with your 1 power anything in standard, such as the 1/2 haste prowess guy we just saw, and then you have a 3/2 that can't be blocked by any tokens.
Yeah. This is the 2-drop that I was talking about. This is going to go into the Tom Ross deck. Like this is your new Ashley lot. It has a Legion Loyal-esque ability where against Elspeths you can like they can play Elspeth tick up and you can attack Titan Strength this and just kill the Elspeth.
Yep.
And
or you can just kill them, you know what I mean? Like, and I think that's what's so great about it is that it just doesn't get, blanked by the best planeswalker in standard, at least right now. We're not sure how good Sarkhan or Sorin is.
But yes, is great. So this is a very constructed playable card, extremely good and limited. The only problem I have with the flavor of the card is every single raid card, especially like this one, and with the flavor of the card, it's like they just kind of show up after that. They're like, "What's up, guys? How'd it go?"
Yo, dude.
Oh, for some reason,
I'm ready.
Yeah, for some reason, I feel better that I wasn't part of that.
I got a bonus because I wasn't here for it, but I aspire.
Yeah. How's the meeting?
Aspirant. I mean, just really, I can't handle it. All right, ankle shanker.
Now this is
a hilarious name. Now see, this name is like weird, but in a fun way, not weird in like a bad way. Ankle shanker. The goblin. I love the furry goblins. The furry goblins are awesome. I love that. That we keep seeing new goblins. I was not expecting to see goblins that we hadn't seen before. My God, they made them hairy, and that's awesome.
They made them hairy because the winter. Yeah. They have to deal with all the cold.
Because reasons they made up, we got hairy goblins.
And it's weird that they get death touch. And the only thing that I wish about this is that just like this black liquid is coming off the little dagger. Like that's what I want because I feel like you're in bed and you're like, ow. You're like, ah. And then you just get infected, and the hospital's like, we can't help you. The nurse on staff.
Yep. I mean, for what it's worth, this is a massive limited bomb. Like it is ridiculous. Yeah. You want to be in the aggro colors. This is exactly what you want to be doing to make your whole team unblockable. It's astounding. Now, there was some talk about this in actual constructed, and I was like, no way. Like, no way.
When I pay 5 mana for a hasty card, it's going to be
Stormbreath Dragon
or Sarkhan. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, this is just too expensive. Yes, the ability is relevant in the sense of combat, but like you have Butcher. First Strike and Death Touch is a great 2-card combo.
Yep.
But Standard's all about removal, and if decks are all based around creatures, then that's how a metagame works. Then people are going to start killing them. So like, there might be one weekend where a card like this potentially might see play.
Well, I mean, with Goblin Rabblemaster as good and as sort of oppressive as it's starting to be, I don't see it.
I agree with you.
Yeah. So like, but again, in limited, this thing is ridiculously awesome. You're going to love it, and you're going to end games with it. Butcher of the Horde, this card is going to be constructed goodness.
Yeah, this is the...
With Bloodsoaked Champion.
I do.
So
there's a lot of
good.
people that are playing Butcher, but I think it just goes in a deck with Bloodsoaked Champion and some removal spells for the fact that, like, it just seems so great. And I love that this card, like, works with the Mardu charm so well. It's like, you can just attack, and they're like, do something, you know, maybe block, and you can just, like, instead of killing the guy and attacking, you can now, like, make that and sacrifice only one token and give it first strike, and now you don't have to waste now you just have this free token, so it works really well with the charm. It's a really powerful effect. I love sacrificing things like Falconarthros Kraut was like my jam back in the day.
Oh yeah.
And get a huge creature with lifelink. Life is a really important resource right now, and there's not a lot of life linked.
Yeah, I mean, the fact you're going to gain back a quarter of your life total, like in the one swing, is very powerful. The fact you can continue to sort of abuse the Bloodsoaked Champion over and over to then give both lifelink and vigilance, where you're just like, get you, and I gain back a quarter of my starting life total. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
This card was absolutely pushed. I think it, you know, maybe it was a 4-4 at one point, and they're just like, 5.
I mean, who knows where a card like this, I feel like, had to go through a lot of development.
Yeah, I
like
mean,
Sacrifice have 3 different abilities for sacrificing.
Things are like stapled onto it strangely.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you know, the Vigilance, Lifelink, and Haste are not like the real abilities you think of when you think of like a demon. I mean, Vigilance and a demon is weird.
No, yeah.
But again, this is where like this was made to be good and constructed, and that's the type of ability it needed in order to be there.
Yeah, this card is good. I don't know if it's going to see much constructed, just for the fact that we have to see what the decks look like. But when I think of 3 colors, I don't think of a card that needs a board presence already. Like this, you need a board presence.
No, you don't. It's a 4-mana 5/4 flyer. Go.
You don't think people are going to be able to kill like 5/5s and 5/4s in this format?
Of course they are, but when they can't, he's going to smash your face in.
That's true.
I mean, you know, and I don't think you're going to play it in a deck that doesn't have Bloodsoaked Champion or whatever. You know, like, it's just, you're just not going to. And if you are, you're just playing the poor version of the deck.
I mean, that's the tension. If your Butcher lives, it's great. But if it dies, you're this 3-color deck with Bloodsoaked Champion. Like, that's the problem I have. And I don't think Mana Confluence is going to be playable. I thought it was before, and I played with it, and it just feels so bad to take so much damage over and over and over again. And aggressive 3-color decks have never been good. Like, they're card advantage decks. Like, yeah, Putrid Leech, Bloodbright Elf, that's an aggressive deck.
I was going to say, there was this Jund deck. It was,
but
I would call it pretty aggressive.
I mean, it wasn't an aggressive deck, though.
Except Putrid Leech into
Sprouting
Thrynax into Bloodbraid.
That's because they're all efficient. You were kind of aggressive. You weren't the aggressor.
You don't think we went over efficient cards?
Cards that generate advantages on their own.
How many Savannah lines in black now?
All right, we will see, but they're all in black.
All right, so is it pie bad time?
I mean, no, it's going to see play.
Okay. Chief of the Edge. Now we were thinking A, that this was Chief of the Blade, but B, thought that this was right after Chief of the Scale. But regardless, this card is even better than that one in my opinion in terms of what you want to do in Mardu, which is attack.
For aggressive decks, I mean, I like that a 2/3 is just more aggressive against morphs. Like, because this card is just going to sit there and not attack into some morphs sometimes, whereas the 2/3 just gets to rumble, right?
Sure.
And so that's why it's a little more aggressive. Like
but this one gives
raid.
But this one actually gives you more. You know, there's a lot of warriors in the set,
yeah.
And this kind of gives you sort of an incidental. You know, make these other cards way better. So even if this one doesn't have to attack, its presence should actually, in my opinion, give you more of the aggressive style of my guys are all pumped, so I'm going to get you for more damage, which is kind of the point.
My favorite thing about the Chief of the Edge and Chief of the Sword is that I just picture the 2 people at the Pro Tour that are like, look at my deck, and it's just like 7 copies of them all combined, you know?
Nice.
Like because once you start drafting these cards, it's really difficult to not just want more of them.
Right.
So they just are themed. I love that, like, you know, like Lords have always been a sub-theme in a lot of sets, and you try to draft your like Goblin decks or your Elf decks or whatever, and they have that with Warriors in this set, and I love that you can just have this 2 cards that only go in the one the one aggressive deck, but a black-white warrior deck can exist in this format.
Yeah, when they were when Lauren was around and when Morningtide and then Shadowmoor and all the other stuff, they focused very much on tribal. That was a tribal block, and that was cool. And one of the things I thought they were going to do at some point was to talk about not only the creature type but also sort of the subtype.
Yep.
And this is your clerics, your warriors, whatever. But ultimately, at least in terms of what Mark Rosewater was telling me at the time, was that there's just not enough space. You know what I mean? There's just not enough real differentiation between type and subtype to really feel like it's enough. And this is about probably as far as you can go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of warriors. Warriors can be in any color. It gives bonuses to warriors. There's the spoils card, whatever that was, the black card that gives +1/+0.
We'll get to that.
Yeah. Well, we already have got to that.
Oh, yeah, we have got to.
But regardless, so there's sort of a warrior sub theme in this, and that's about as good as you can hope for.
Yeah, but I actually love it. It's just so great that I feel like other people might have done this too, where they see one and then they come back to the spoiler, they see the other, they think they're the same card, and all of a sudden they're both like, oh, it's two different cards.
Hey, they pump each other, and it's awesome. Crackling Doom, Crack-a-Boom.
This is such a real magic card. This is real.
Good.
This is we call it Big Edict, because it just takes the biggest guy and.
Well, it's why did edicts suck? Why? Because they could throw away their plant token, or they could throw away their goblin token, or whatever, and the thing that was going to kill you was always going to live.
The biggest guy, and it's like the this is the fixed anti-hexproof card. They're like, how do we make sure that we don't have people whining about hexproof for like 6 more months if it's busted? Because hexproof is, you just don't have an answer.
Yep.
Like, you can wrath them, but they had Boros Charm, and like they can find answers. But this is just an edict that's like, nope, that thing is dead. It's the biggest thing now. It is dead. I don't care.
Yep, GG. I love it. Like, edicts are awesome, but edicts always had drawbacks. There was Devour Flesh, and well, if they had like anything else out, you were like, I can't get rid of that thing, and now you can. It's weird. Like, I think the fact that the art isn't very good kind of takes away of like how good this card is. I know it sounds weird, but I think the art's kind of bad. Not like it was illustrated poorly. It's just like not the right scene for what this card is doing.
It's too blue. It's too light. Like, there's light, but it's like when it's sunny out, but it's rainy. You're like, this doesn't make any sense.
It's a red, white, and black card, and it doesn't have any of those colors in the artwork.
Crackling Doom to me feels like you're in Mordor and the lightning is striking the mountains.
Right. Like I don't want to show like and probably someone dying, or like a creature like falling through, or something falling on them. But as a result, and I know this is weird. I feel like it was actually passed over. A lot of people haven't given this card any credit because it just looks really weird, and you're like, oh, it's like a weird, and it deals 2 damage, which makes it seem bad because then it's a rare card that's dealing 2 damage, and then it's an edict thing. Edicts have always been bad. You know what I mean?
It also says each opponent twice, so I think a lot of people think, oh, it's just probably an EDH card because to add on to that.
Right.
And the thing all right, so for one, it kills Sorin and a tick down, like an immediate tick down Sorin and the vampire.
Right.
But the other thing is, it's going to deal some damage, which is pretty decent in decks, like especially when you're trying to be like mid-range aggressive. Like those two points add up. But the best thing about this card is that it just kills Polukranos or whatever threat that they have while dealing them some damage and not being like a targeted thing. So like, and I like that it's not a targeted thing, so you can't protect it from certain things. Like,
yeah, absolutely. And there was always that feel bad of like, devour flesh you, and they're like, okay, I'll sack myself and carry thanks, and I keep my Polukranos to beat your face in, and this card gets around that. Again, I know the art is not great. I wish it was more iconic, honestly, because I think it's really, really good.
Well, I mean, it makes a lot of sense too, right? Lightning just hits the biggest thing, so that's great. So I do wish that it was
flavor's great,
destroying the it would have been so cool if it was a big old army and you have one of those big mammoth giants that's just getting destroyed.
Yeah, it's striking that, right? All right, so that card is really good in limited. Always play it. It's awesome. Mardu Charm, another one, super great card. If you're in these colors, you play it in limited. It's amazing.
And it's going to be constructed playable just for the fact that it can, like, the 2/1/1 for strikers is going to be good against like the aggressive red decks.
Sure.
Dealing 4 damage is going to be good against coarser decks, and being able to steal a card from like, I do believe Empty the Pits is going to be a real card, and any deck to play Mardu Charm has a chance of just stripping it from their hand before it goes off.
Absolutely. I mean, the best sort of feeling when you're the aggro deck, when you're the Mardu deck and you got them down to like 5 life and you got a bunch of dudes and like, the only way they can win is if they drew in hostilities or whatever it is.
And you can just take it immediately.
And you go, draw step, thanks. Because remember, you can play instants on their draw steps, and unless it's an instant for them, they're just going to have to discard at that point. It's instant speed duress. Like, thanks.
Yep.
It is really, really good.
Oh, I don't want you to draw Elspeth. Draw it. Can
Yep.
I take a look?
Yeah, because that's like,
Yeah.
how do I lose this game? When he draws Elspeth
I
during your
will.
draw
I
step.
will tell
Thanks.
you guys now. If you have not had instant speed hand disruption,
Oh.
it is the biggest feel bad ever.
It's so bad because they get that rush of
Yeah.
I drew what I needed, and then your opponent goes, wait a second, red, white, black in your world. Like it's just it's great.
There was a deck a long time ago. It was bad, but I do want to tell the story.
All right.
It was the rat that put a card from their hand on top of their library.
Not ravenous, chittering.
Chittering rat.
Chittering rats.
So it was a three mana 2/2 that put a card on top.
I love that
There
card.
was a deck that I played for a long time when I was really bad at Magic
So did I.
with Aether Vial, and you could return it with something, some black card, return it to your hand. There's a combo.
I played it because it was good in mono black at the time. This was like mono black with Persecute and Kakusho.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it actually had the Mondo combo, but it certainly played the chittering rats.
There's a combo where you had a black card that said you have to return a creature to your hand at the beginning of your upkeep. But I had a Vial on 3, and I would just get them down to 1 card, and I'd be like, during your draw step,
Put it back.
put it back, and it felt so good. I mean, it was not a good deck. I didn't win much, but but taking a card from them before they get a chance to play it
It's powerful.
is the most broken thing, especially if they have the mana too.
Oh, it's such an awesome feeling for you and bad feeling for them. Mardu Ascendancy, I think this card is fantastic. I feel like this card is going to enter constructed play.
I could see it. It helps you beat Bile Blights, Drown in Sorrows, Anger the Gods.
Yep.
The biggest problem I have with it is that you're a 3-color aggressive deck, so you have to be more mid-rangey than most. So
Right.
like you can't like
If they print the rest of the fetch lands, is that good enough
no.
to be a 3-color
No,
aggressive
the
deck?
reason that is not good enough is if you were an aggressive deck, you have to run enough answers to beat Polukranos, and enough answers is around 7. I think you need like 7 answers, like 5 to 7 answers for Polukranos, because the bad feeling for an aggressive deck is when you're on the draw and they just play turn 3 Polukranos, and you're like, I'm dead. Like, I can't beat this card. Every single aggressive player out there understands that turn 3 Polukranos is how you
So
die.
what you're saying is if there was a spell that made them sacrifice the highest power guy in your
There is.
colors.
And now your deck has Mardu Ascendancy and Crackling Doom, and probably another removal spell in your deck.
Sweet.
And 3 different types of colors of mana.
Okay.
All right, how are we getting a tempo advantage in these games?
Aggro? Dudes.
I completely understand.
You know how you do
when
aggro?
Did we
You
cast
aggro
them?
dudes.
When did we cast them?
Well, the first couple turns of the game, because turn 3,
And we have
you
perfect
Crackling
mana?
Doom them.
Oh, we did.
Well, that's what I was talking about the fetch lands for. I was like, if the fetch lands come back in the 3rd set, which would be great, is that enough to make this reliably castable? Because that was what you were saying, is that the 3-color aggro decks don't work. Why? Because there's 3 colors. Well, what is enough to make 3 colors work?
Shocklands
And fetches?
and
Or
fetches.
just shocklands?
And Deathray Shamans.
God, now you're just spoiled.
Yeah. No, I mean, this card is very good, but 3 colors comes with a cost, and the cost is it being 3 different colors.
All right,
and
so-
we will see how good it is, but if this was 2 colors red, I would call this one of the most busted cards of all time.
Mm-hmm.
But because it's red, white, black, and it's an aggressive shell, and you're going to need to play tap lands,
Mm-hmm.
and your opponents are going to have have just as bad a mana, but bigger spells than you, you might just get shut down immediately.
Maybe. All right, so how good is it in limited?
Oh, busted.
Super bomby, awesome, right?
Yeah, because like you just get free value. All your guys attack, and you get 1/1s, and you don't really have token themes in limited. You just have a bunch of guys.
Sure.
So yeah, this card is busted
Now,
good.
is it good enough to first pick and then build your deck around?
Yeah,
I'm
I
just
would
curious.
first
I'm just
pick. I would first pick this card. It just generates free goblins, and you can just attack. And even if those goblins die, we've learned that Goblin Rebelmaster tokens are you don't have to care about them.
Yeah, who cares? If they live, they die. That's great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Super good
Poor
card.
goblins. Like
Well, now they're furry.
that's true.
That's so good. They're furry. Mardu Roughrider. What? He's a 5-mana 5/4, yo.
My favorite thing about this card is it's just when it charges in, the one guy goes, nope, and just runs away.
And the dude on the back is awesome. He's just like, deal with it.
He's just the guy from Titanic in some weird universe.
Are you saying his heart's going to go on?
Well, I'm not. I don't think he's gonna die today. Like not riding that thing.
All right. Well, so at that point, he's never going to let go. He's never
never gonna- no.
let go. Okay.
They're buddies for life, and This thing is massive. It's great. 5/4 for 5 is great stats. Making things not block is great for big cards like this.
Yep, it's terrific. It's just what you want at the top of the Mardu curve. Essentially, is you don't have a lot of 5 or 6s, but the 5 or 6s you do have are super large, super aggressive, and just stop them from blocking.
This is the card that your opponent's going to be at like 7 life. They're slowly stabilized, and you play this, and you're just like, oh, really?
Oh, God. Or some Death Toucher.
I have no idea how to deal with this.
Right, or some Death Toucher is keeping back 2 or 3 of your dudes, and then you're like, bam, I go, and they go, oh, God, I thought that Death Toucher was going to get me.
Again.
Right, like, oh, then you got to have to deal with it. So, this card is extremely powerful, a really high pick for the Mardu deck, and just a good man.
Yep.
I like it. Ponyback Brigade. Ponyback, woo, doggy.
When they have to add the comedy to the goblins.
They sure do.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous.
You just add ponies.
Yeah.
You know what you do? You weaponize the ponies.
That's true.
They weaponized them. They threw goblins on them with spears.
Even though it's a joke card, or I mean, it feels like a joke card. It is a good card.
It's a good card.
I mean,
No doubt about it.
It's good and limited. Like, it's 5 power at any time. It's great when racing, and it's just a bluff morph where you attack, and they don't know if you care about this card or not, and they assume you don't, and you don't really care about it either, and you're just attacking with it, and then finally, like, you get to morph and make these guys and block, and it makes combat really messed up. It's your Trumpet Blast card. Like, if you have a Trumpet Blast, you love Ponyback Brigade.
Yep, the card's really super sweet. I mean, it is the Mardu cycle of the 5-drop unmorph, card, and it's funny looking, but that doesn't mean it's not going to crush your opponent's face.
Yeah, this is more of the card that you hold back with removal spells in hand, and you flip it. You don't attack with it. You flip it at end of turn and then attack with Trumpet Blast or something like that.
Exactly. That's what you sort of want to do, is kind of gang up and just kind of blow them out, as it were, with this type of ability, because it's obvious with 2/2 being its stats. That's what it's telling you to do.
Yeah, he's not going to be that great in combat.
Right. It's instructing you as to you only want to play this in Unmorphy. You don't want to be doing something else. Zergo Helm Smasher. Smashing the helms, brah.
And this is just why I'm not a big fan of the Mardu aggressive decks, because this card's, ugh.
Well, I mean, are we talking about constructed?
I mean, limited, sure, it's fine.
And limited, this thing is monstrous, like awesome.
He feels like he's already been monstrous. Like, you already had to pay the mana
You've
for it.
already activated it, and he's amazing. Like, it's weird because I mean, Pelucranos is a card that was spoiled in Heroes versus Monsters, and we talked about this a little bit, where it was kind of flew under the radar, I think, because people were just like, "That's it." Like, that's all it is. You know what I mean? Like, that's really, I mean, like, just a 4-mana 5/5 with a cool ability. That's all you got. And for the Zergo, it's like, oh, he's a 5-mana 7/2 with like some sweet abilities. That's all you got. Like, it's weird. But it's like, I feel like they put those cards in the versus, Speed versus Cunning or whatever, and Heroes versus Monsters in order to get us really excited about the set. But when we see this guy, I think we get kind of jaded. I think we're just like, so spoiled with all of Return to Ravnica block and all of Theros block.
No,
And then we see this guy and we're just like, that's all you got? That's it? And it could very well define part of the format as the aggressive 5-drop.
Because people are emotionally attached to the Magic cards that they've been playing with, and they don't want to let go.
Right.
And so when a new rotation comes, it's not that, like, some people are excited to move on, but other people are just glad, just discarding, making more pack rats. I mean, I don't know why, but
because they like to win games of Magic, like you.
I mean,
you like to win games of Magic. You play pack rat.
No, I was anti-pack rat.
You were anti-pack rat the whole time?
Well, until I got top 8 of the GP at the first one before everyone got on pack rat.
Oh,
and then I was anti-pack rat.
So you were the pack rat hipster, is what you're telling me. Is that what you're telling me? Before it was cool, you were playing with it before it was cool.
Well, I thought everyone else thought. No, so we all showed up to the GP assuming that everyone was playing it, and no one played it. We had Dark Patrols in our sideboards, and no one played the deck. We're just like, wait, you guys didn't see that top end of the Pro Tour? You didn't get the memo? Like, no, this deck's good.
It was amazing. Like, you guys just sliced through that whole event. Yeah. And it wasn't close.
No one played it. It was shocking.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, we just had a dead card in our sideboard.
Because I thought it was so, known at that point. And it really felt like everyone knew this was a real deck and it was really good. And then you guys just destroyed with it. So, anyway, my point is, how good is Zergo in constructed?
Awful. Can't play it. Unplayable. It dies to Bile Blight. It dies to all the Wrath effects. It has to attack every turn. Yes, it has haste. Yes, it attacks for 7 immediately. But we've seen cards very similar to this in the past that haven't been playable.
Right.
And it doesn't beat the Elspeth test.
So maybe, and I don't know. We're just all pontificating over here. Maybe after the lukewarm response to Pelucranos, they didn't put like an all-star format definer in the like preview slot for the deck. Is that what we're trying to say here?
Maybe. I mean, I don't think I'd play this over Sarkhan, and I do see situations where like I have to just chump block because I don't want to take 7 maybe.
Right.
But at the same time, it doesn't feel that great, so we'll see. I have to be proven wrong on Mardu in Constructed. I feel like Mardu might be the sleeper, not great until we have more sets.
Sure.
Because I feel like you need the whole deck to be great.
Right. And, well, I mean, if there is any sort of like additional mana fixing or Mardu specific type mana fixing, that may be what it needs to sort of evolve. But either way, the card is very good and limited. It's bad and constructed. The end.
Moving on.
Altar of the Brood. This is just one of those cards that when you see the Reddit post of I found the infinite loop combo, or I found the turn 4 insta win or whatever, this is the card that's always there, because if there's just some way you can bounce a thing and then put it back, then you can mill their entire deck from it.
Yes. I mean, I already can tell you a sweet combo with this if you ever want to do it.
Go on.
I mean, it's just pretty much
Retraction Helix. Is that what it starts with? Retraction Helix?
No, it starts with just the 3 mana card that whenever you play a permanent, you return a permanent of that type.
Oh, we're talking about the one from Ravnica?
Yeah, they cost 3.
The Cloudstone Curio?
Yeah, Cloudstone Curio.
Yeah.
And you just play like Ornithopters and Memnites and stuff. You're just like, brrr. I mean, that doesn't seem like the worst.
It's funny. I mean, like, it's cute. I think, like, this is, A, it's a Johnny card, and B, like, it's as cheap as they could possibly make it without making it just free. And, like, it is one of those cards that whoever is playing this against you and is trying to make this work, God help them if it ever works, they would just cackle and laugh themselves silly with how awesome this card is when it just starts doing things.
Oh, I mean, I definitely put this being in the top 8 of a deck someday. For sure.
Oh, I mean, we're talking like a weird legacy, like Mondo combo kill thing.
Legacy or modern, it will see play.
Well,
this will be decent sometime somehow.
Right, that's the thing. Like, again, this is to me is like they pushed it to the point where like some silly combo deck is going to try to use it, or silly combo decks on kitchen tables all over the world are going to love this thing.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Don't play it in limited ever. Just stop. Now, all right. So let's back up a little bit. Now, I can hear the arguments as soon as I said that. The arguments in my head was Sultai likes Delve, Sultai likes cards in graveyard, Sultai uses the graveyard like anything else. But, all right, you're done. All right, card's terrible. Next. Briber's Purse.
I love this card. I love it so much because it's flavorful. I don't know how playable it is, but I could see me playing it. And I just love that the more resources you have, the richer you are to bribe people.
That's really sweet. Like, the flavor of this card is fantastic.
It's great, yeah.
It is really good. I think
it runs out.
Well, I love that we actually are able to go with artifacts in Mardu, because I think this is the perfect Mardu artifact.
Yes.
This is exactly what you want in the aggressive decks. This is what you want in the Jeskai and the Mardu decks.
I mean, it's also good in all the decks too, as defensive measures.
Yeah.
And keeping guys at bay. I love the flavor. It makes so much sense to me.
Right.
Like, and it's great because it's like when you start a game, you're broke. You don't have a lot of resources. You don't want to put your purse on the table yet.
Right.
You just wait for a very long time. Like, do you tap all 6 to put 6 counters on, or do you do 5 and 1? You know,
you do 5 and then use the last one to actually activate it.
You think of how many turns this game's left. Maybe you even just like, the cool thing about a card like this is like there's going to be on turn 7, and your opponent like just goes into the tank, and they're just like, Barber's Purse for 2, go. And you're just like, oh, what does that mean?
Oh, my God.
No, like, is he going to morph? Like,
Right. Something bad's going to happen to me, which is sweet. The flavor of paying someone a big lump sum and then having that person kind of pay out individually is just beautiful. It's amazing how it works with aggro decks. The flavor's fantastic. It's really good. You pick it early if you're an aggressive deck. Like, this card is awesome.
Yeah, I love it.
I like it a lot. Cranial Archive. That is the most amazing artwork. Wow.
It's so good. And,
wow. Vulcan, is that right? Vulcan Baga? That guy killed it. I mean, absolutely killed it. I bet the foils of this thing look absolutely unreal.
Oh, for sure, with the blue in it.
Yes.
And, I also think that this card could see some constructed play.
Really?
As a sideboard card. Well, we don't have Relic left.
I was going to say, we don't have Elixir, right?
Yeah, well, Elixir doesn't do anything to them, though.
Right.
Yeah, I want to get
target player. Okay.
Yeah. And so you're going to want to fight their graveyard somehow. There's going to be graveyard interactive decks. And this card helps fight any Empty the Pit decks. It cantrips against slower decks. There could potentially be a, what is it?
You mean those?
Ranked, return to ranks.
Yeah, return to the ranks.
Return to the ranks
Return
deck.
to the ranks,
Yeah, like there might be a deck like that. I could see just playing one of these in a sideboard because it does cost 4 mana over the course of 2 turns, but it's a way to shut them down. Also, you get a cantrip out of it. Graveyard decks will exist. There will be reanimator decks, and they're gonna have a tough time beating this card.
Yeah, I mean it's sort of like this is a very developer card to me, and that it's going to solve a very specific problem. It's not good in limited because why? It's trying to solve a constructed problem. It's trying to solve like what happens if the Empty the Pits decks or the Sultai, Sidisi decks or whatever just get like too good or too overpowering. You want to have something that literally any deck can play in order to answer it.
So they have learned that sometimes graveyards go bad, and we get into a lot of trouble, but they want us to use our graveyards.
Right.
So they made this card cost 2 and 2 for the fact that they don't want it to be Relic. Relic of Progenitus was just kind of a free roll. It's like, yeah, it costs 1 mana, and then I can sack it for 1, so I can just do it on turn 2 if I don't have anything else to do, and I get a cycle.
Wizards always has almost this like schizophrenic, like I want you to use the graveyard, but don't use the graveyard. But we're going to do this graveyard mechanic, but don't make it too good. Like it's like they just keep like
they don't want to make
weirdly
the
like saying it, but then they don't say it, and they want it, and then oh god, we got it, and oh god, this is too good. Like it's weird.
They liked Relic Progenitus to exist, or like I thought it was a really good card, but it was too good, and it was such a free roll as a sideboard card.
It really was.
And so they wanted to make it cost more. And that's what they did, and they didn't make it have both abilities because they don't want you picking away on Delve, right? They don't just want to be like cutting your Delve every single turn.
Right.
So this card is a perfect answer to decks if something gets out of hand.
Yeah, and that's cool. And again, like limited wise, like the only time you're ever playing this is if something went wrong. Like if you're playing against like a super Sultai deck that has a ton of awesome Delve cards, maybe.
I mean, I would play it against an Empty the Pit deck. Once they get to 6 cards in their graveyard, just get rid of them.
Well, I mean, I'm talking about just in limited though. Like in limited, they have to for this card to be playable, you have to really be playing against the Delve deck. That's like
for sure,
very much dedicated to the Delve.
Oh yeah, you just sideboard it.
Yeah, but don't play it main deck. It's just never that good. But the art's amazing. It's great for constructed. I like this card. Dragon Throne of Tarkir. This was the release promo, I think it is, as it were.
It is such a weird. It's like you're turning. What I love about this is you're turning your guy into the chief, and it's how good he is how good you are. Right. And that's like the cool thing about this.
There's some cool thematic elements of this, and in Tarkir it takes 7 mana to sit down. I mean that's what we're trying to say here. But once the guy is equipped, like once he's equipped, he's basically out. And then you just kind of like be able to use them, like where the 3/1 that we looked at earlier, the 3 mana 3/1 that has prowess, like that's a card that you would rather stick on this thing than actually get in the red zone for.
Yeah,
because you want high power, low toughness for this type of artifact.
I don't know how good this card is. My gut tells me it's not good because it costs 9 mana to have any impact on the game.
God, it's bad.
But it does go like turn 4 and then turn 5 play equip, and the great thing about this is it can be defensive as well.
Sure.
Like, yes, it says trample. Yes, it seems aggressive.
Right.
But you can also be holding the fort, and it's hard to tag into your whole team getting like +3/+3 or +4/+4.
Yeah, I mean, I was saying like it's bad that it's 9 mana, but ultimately like I'm actually feeling that this card is probably really good limited.
Oh, I bet in sealed, I bet it's bonkers.
Yeah, sealed is absolutely ridiculous. And in draft, things move faster. If people have more of a mana curve, it's probably a little bit worse. But like once you equip it to a dude, like your opponent is scared like the whole time. As long as you have any other guys around, it's amazing. Yeah. And if you really wanted to get crazy, you can always, activate and then equip it to something else and activate and equip it to something else and so on and so forth and kind of build the one individual monster that's so large, you just kill them.
Yeah.
Like, it definitely has a lot of potential. Card is powerful. Ghostfire Blade, I love the flavor on this. I love how it only costs 1 mana to equip to a morph. I love the subtle hint, along with the Ugin artifact that we'll get to here in a bit, that kind of hints that we're going back to Zendikar, back to Rise of the Eldrazi, which means back to the Eldrazi, because obviously this card works really well with Eldrazi. However, you're not supposed to draft the 3rd set and the 1st set together, so maybe that's just, harmless speculation, basically. Yeah. But that's okay. I think there's a lot of cool flavor in this. I don't understand why people are talking about this in Modern Affinity. What? You have Bone Splitter. No one's playing that. Like, what?
I mean, exactly. Yeah, no, you're not missing anything. It's just people want to talk about sweet things. Yeah. And the thing is, like, it makes the most sense to go into Affinity. So, like, I want to be the guy that made fetch happen.
Right.
So you snap that off.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm that guy.
Yeah, I called it first. I said.
I know what's going through these guys' head. Like, if somebody's just like, yeah, that could go into Affinity, I'm like, It's probably not going to, but you just wanted to say it first.
So what
right?
you're saying is ego, basically.
Yes.
If you can stroke the ego, then high five, and not realize that cranial plating is in that deck.
Yes.
And is a million times stronger
Yeah.
than this card.
I don't know. I mean,
The fact that this card is rare is weird.
I played in limited every single time. I think 3 mana for +2/+2 is fine.
It's
Plus
very
you can-
powerful. I mean,
plus
I
you can
can-
play it in, put in all the morphs. Like,
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a sort of a morph. It's the morph trump, if you
and
will.
it's cheap to put it on a morph and then flip the morph over to make
Right.
it even better right away.
And this is one of those, just like Icy Blast, like, why is this rare? Because it's too good in limited. Like, it's too good in limited, even in uncommon. You would see it too often. It would make way too big of a difference. And so, you know, and I guess it's ultimately something you kind of have to get used to, that, like, if Wizards wants this card to be as good as it is, it's just going to have to get the bump. And you're just going to have to kind of deal with it. You know, as sometimes you're going to crack a pack and get this as your rare and be like,
All this card makes me think, though, is I hope Ghostfire comes back, because that was just one of my... As a red player, sometimes...
It was so
It was
sweet.
so nice. It's just like, it's a burn spell that you can kill, like, all the red protection for red guys that you care about. And
Yep.
like, I just used to love that. And Ghostfire was so cool at doing that. So I hope they bring that card back.
Just remove the blade part and bring it back. It's okay. Heart Piercer Bow. This card is really interesting. Like, what do you think about this card? Like, in limited, I mean, it's just like a weird conundrum. I don't, you know, it's like when it attacks, it's dealing 1 damage to a creature they control. Just one damage.
It makes combat more complex. I don't know if it's worth the spell, though.
Yeah, that's the thing for me. Like,
Well, it's
is this
because
really worth a
pingers, no.
card and a bunch of mana?
The reason that it's like this is that they want to keep, like, Pinger equipment has been busted. I can't remember what it was called, the bow.
Yeah.
They're all busted.
Right.
Everything's like, make your guy into a pinger, so they just like tab, deal 1 damage.
Sure.
Are always really good.
Right.
So this is the fixed version of it that might be good, might be bad, probably bad.
I mean, it encourages you to attack, which is cool.
Yep.
I mean, you know, like, it's obvious why this card is sort of worded that way. But, you know, if you had the ability to go to target creature or player, I think would be nice. Just to give it a little bit more play, as it were, because it's so narrow.
Actually,
It's
the more
super narrow.
this card's good. It's
Okay.
not as good as it might even be in situations. It's better than the pinger, right? Because then you have to tap the guy instead of attack with it.
Right.
I'm pretty sure this is real good.
Hmm.
I'm actually confident that this is a very good limited card.
Okay, I mean, if it is, fantastic.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you get like 2 of these things, it's nutty.
It's
but-
probably worse than 1
But yeah, I mean,
because you want
wait,
more guys.
What do you mean exactly?
Well, if you have 2 of them, you have to invest 6 mana to do that, and that's mana not playing guys.
Well,
And
I
so
mean,
your
I
opponent
guess,
can get
but-
ahead on the board.
Right, I mean, we're sort of talking like, you know, like the idiosyncrasies of playing one now and then playing the other one
Sure,
later and
yeah.
all this other stuff, like, instead of like all at once. But, you know, if this works out, high five. I'm just saying it seems a little shaky, but I would still play it just to see how good it is in sealed.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident that it's pretty good. A lot of the flyers are like X1s.
Mm-hmm.
You can like attack your 2/2s into 3/3s and your 3/3s into 4/4s. And
Right, or and so on and so forth. You know,
Yeah.
they got a super high toughness guy, and you got just almost enough. This helps you get over it, which is cool. Lens of Clarity. I love that they took the morph token. By the way, Wizards, that's not a way to fix people being weird about morphs. Do you see this? You seen the morph token? They made a token that just says like
you put it on
morph
top,
and
yeah.
explains like this creature may be turned up at any time for
Yeah.
its morph cost or whatever. People don't use tokens that way. They don't just like slap another card on top of the face down
No.
card because, and it's just weird. But the fact that they made that thing that, you know, is a token of a morph card is what what leads them to this, which allow them to show the artwork in a different way. They kind of brought over this weird lens thing.
so then you can see what that ball is.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like they kind of connected the 2 pieces. So high five on the art direction on that. You know, I saw what they did. They accomplished what they were going for, and that's great. Now, ultimately, people don't use the morph cards the way I think Wizards wants them to, but it still allows you to kind of connect these two and go, oh, that's super sweet.
All right. So can I take the stand?
Go
now?
for it.
All right. So this card makes me believe that people will want to play it because information is important. But I think that this is a card that you should not play.
Never play this card. This card is terrible.
Well, but I feel like a lot of players might want to because it lets them be the
Right.
master of the universe. For the rest of the game, I always know every card that you draw, everything in play, but it's not good. It's a waste of a card.
Yeah, it's just not worth the spell. It's not worth knowing that information versus like having this be stone anything else.
Yeah.
There's a reason it only costs 1 mana. There's a reason it's common. No one cares. Don't play with it. It's bad. The end. I just like the art. I mean, that's why I was going on
it is
about the
really
art.
cool.
The art's really cool. Mardu banner. Yeah.
All right.
Got that Mardu banner, yo.
Do you think that the Mardu have we been victorious in this set review?
I don't know.
Because that's what we're supposed to ask now. We're at the end.
Right. Well, not yet.
We have one more.
We got the teamer.
After we could take the. No. I mean for today. For this video.
Well, for this video.
Yeah.
I mean,
we've been victorious because that's what the Mardu care about.
Well, I think we still have some after the Tri-Land, so not quite just yet. I've had a good time talking about them.
Okay, sweet.
I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. I like Mardu. I like it a lot more than you do. Mr. 3-color aggro can't work. It's going to.
I don't feel offended by you saying that about me.
What?
I don't feel Mr. 3-color won't work.
Yeah, feel it.
I mean, I was the Night Blitz guy. I know.
I know. So what are you talking about?
Well, we don't got the same lands.
Oh, good lord. All right, fine. Ugin's Nexus. Ugin's Nexus is really cool. Tell him, Brad.
What?
Tell him you're cool. Your Mondo combo.
Oh,
it's
well,
super cool.
I thought it was very obvious.
It's not.
Oh, okay. So Ugin's Nexus. The first time I saw it, I was like, oh, how do I shatter it? But the actual thing you're supposed to do with Ugin's Nexus is you play a copy, and then you play another copy, and then Legend Rule 1, and then exile it, and you get to Time Walk, and then play an extra one.
You keep Legend Ruling them with either itself or
the clone,
or the new clone that clones any non-land permanent.
Yeah, so you can just play all 8 of those cards, and you can just Time Walk by Legend Ruling, and that's cool. But
pretty bad.
Yes, very.
Because you know what you're doing? Nothing. Like, you're drawing another card, you're untapping your mana, like...
You have to have something on the board that is relevant. I mean, this could be your Relzeri casual FNM deck where you play Relzerics and all of these clones, and you just try to take as many turns as possible. And
yeah, I mean, that's cool and all. I mean, obviously, if you had something like, Pelucranos or whatever down, and then you start dropping your Nexuses...
Oh, we don't play this.
But no one...
Pelucranos. No, we got to kill them in a cooler way.
Right. You got to be able to do something better than just a, smashy facey. Come on, man. You got to have some style.
Yes, exactly.
Some finesse. And in the meantime, you're spending all of your mana taking extra turns and not doing much else. So.
And they all get exiled, so it can only last for so long.
All right, so this thing is basically, it's basically unplayable and limited, right? I mean, there's basically no way you can work. There's no like Shatter guy. There's no even the Disenchant guy from M15.
No, this is your 14th pick at the Pro Tour.
Yeah, this is just like, oh, I got a Mythic Last. All right, sweet. That's really cool. Because it's basically worse than everything else. Witness of the Ages. I mean, you're never going to play it unmorphed. Well, not never. You're only going to play it unmorphed unless you're on a blank board and you're playing off the top of your library. But generally, it's still better to morph it if you can. Because the surprise 4/4 is still good.
Yeah, I mean, if we're in top deck boards, though, I'm just going to slam a 4/4, though. Like, even for no reason. Because, like, I could top deck another card that's relevant, and I just want it in play.
Sure.
So, like, this is a great morph when you just want more morphs. Again, I don't know how it plays out. The stats are fine.
Like, this is just like good old-fashioned middle-of-the-road guy. It's like, he's good. He's not really great in aggro because he's really expensive in terms of the mana that you're spending, and you're not getting like the sweet, Ponyback brigade stuff where you're getting a bunch of creatures that you can pump with, Trumpet Blast or whatever. But, this is still a good, solid Magic card that will fit in most of your decks just because... you're like, it's a morph at worst, and then it's later for any colors of mana. It doesn't even have to be specific. You get a 4/4.
Yeah, he trades with most of the mid-range creatures, but he's like, feels like the 2-color card when you don't get a lot of morphs for the 2-color decks that you want to also disguise them sometimes. Yeah. And this is just the perfect one.
Yep. It's just solid. It's nothing you're going to pick super early. It's something you're probably going to get super late. Yeah. Kind of get it in the middle there. Nomad Outpost. Sweet Tri-Land art is sweet.
It's number 4 to me, maybe 5. I'm just saying this just to dig at them now.
You would.
Yeah. I mean, this is no Jeskai, pal.
Oh, it's no Monastery.
This is no OP.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But the Outpost is sweet. Tri-Lands are sweet. It's going to see constructed play. It's going to see tons of limited play. Always play this in your limited decks. If you're any of, you just need to be 2 of these colors. As long as you're at least 2 of them, it's fine. And then you have the free splash maybe in a sweet morph.
Much like temples, you're just going to want a set of all 5 of them.
Yep.
You're just going to want to have access to them.
Cool. So, with Nomad Outpost, that means we are done with the red Khans of Tarkir review, where we're done with the Mardu cards, the artifacts.
Sweet pun. You could just been with Nomad Outpost. We are out.
Oh, we out of here. Well, see, now we can, and now we just made it, weird. It's fine. But, we're not done.
No, we got one more.
The Teamers, baby.
The biggest of them all.
Whoop, whoop, whoop. The artist formerly known as Rug.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm still going to say rug, but
Rug life.
yeah, it's a rug life,
That's
and
right.
it's the kind I like to live because big, green, dumb monsters that have flash are exactly what I like to do. in
That's what
Magic.
you need to do. And we get to talk
Yeah.
about Stark Dragonclaw. That guy's amazing. It's going to be awesome. We hope you guys join us. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks to all the Patreon subscribers for supporting this content. You can go to patreon.com/magicshow so we can keep making this type of stuff for you guys. For Evan Irwin,
Brad Nelson,
tapping the cards.
so you don't have to.
Woo! See you tomorrow.